The rogue room appreciates your recommendation.
And we are live. Welcome back to the Rogue Room, folks. My name is Rogue. How you doing? Welcome in. What's happening? How's it hanging? That's it. Yeah, that's it. I've just started. I don't need a posture check. I will do your hydration. I'll do your hydration. How's it going, folks? How's the last 2 days been? What it do? What it do, fam? What it do, fam? That apparently explode all over my face. Daddy. That was everywhere. Oh my god. How much do they fill these fucking things up? How's it going? What are you two? What are you two? What are you people? Friends. There you go, Magic. I'm assuming you're people and not just like 1,000 bots or whatever. Assuming you lot are actually people. You know, there's like water on my keyboard. I don't think it actually got on the keyboard. I think it just got on the little wrist rest bit. But anyway. We had exactly 3 milliliters of water. I don't know how to get this shirt to stay on my shoulders. And I am questioning the humanity of my audience. Are you robots? Are you androids? I don't trust you. A real flesh and bone people. Well, that's good to hear. At the very least, my coffee shouldn't ejaculate all over me. Did caving, boxing, and caving? What do you mean caving? You're being made entirely of cabbage. Honestly, that reminds me of like, of Spiders Man. Have you folks heard of Spiders Man? Can we start off with Spiders Man? Just, went cave exploring with a friend. That's pretty cool. Have you heard of Spiders Man? It's an alternate reality Spider-Man that is a man made of spiders. It's kind of the best thing ever. Anyway. At any rate, I hope your yesterday was better than mine was. I mean, mine was not too bad. But I tell you what. I mean, honestly, like, I didn't wake up with a hangover. I'll say that much. From 2 days ago, for those of you who missed it, we did a cocktail party stream with Calgar and some friends. And I drank entirely too much and made myself sick. I didn't vomit, at the very least. I didn't get to that point. But I don't know my limits with alcohol, clearly. So I need to be a little bit more wary in future, and I'm like staying off it for the time being. I'm staying completely off the alcohol for the time being. Tonight, friendos, I've also changed the sub goal to a daily reasonable sub goal, 5, instead of our usual, current goal is like 200. To get to 200, I'll let you know if we get it. Did I get blottoed? It didn't feel like it, honestly. That's the weird thing. It's like I didn't really, at any particular point, feel overly drunk. I just clearly did not know my limits. And by the end of the night, by the tail end of, like, I want to say around about 9 or 9:30, I began to feel physically ill. It wasn't so much feeling drunk. I didn't feel tipsy. I didn't feel like anything. I just felt sick. Like I needed to throw up. There was a bit of tipsiness, honestly, a little bit, but it was more that I made myself sick. It was like, well, shit, not doing that again. Would rather Spiders Man than you would Candyman. He was just filled with little pricks. Radio broken, sounds good. There's an ad on TV and it's a koala sliding down an ice cream. Cold stuff. Oh no, yeah, cold. Anything under the nails. I hate anything under my nails. I try to keep them as clean as possible. They're not at their best at the moment, but you know, this one, I've had to get rid of one of my nails in this hand. You might be able to tell. I should have painted them. Taking care of nails is too much of an effort, honestly. Why did I decide to do this? Especially given that I want to get back into guitar and all that. There has never been, in the nearly 3 years that I've been streaming here on Twitch, I've never once turned on any sort of song request. I don't know why that was ever a thing. And you know, here we are, amidst the wake of a post-DMCA world. Finally somebody noticed the emotionally exhausted blanket I just got today. Thank you, Cuckles. You like it? It's good. It's perfect. It fits my stream entirely. Some of the things that these parents on what is holy moly? Don't be disrespectful of your latest instrument. Alright, let's try to hydrate again without killing ourselves, shall we? Try to hydrate without ending our lives at the hands of water. There we go. We got the big bottles. We got the huge bottles of water now, and I just got to be very careful not to spew them all over me when I first open them. Not even cold, by the way. It hasn't been in the fridge. Maybe I should chuck it in the fridge. Oh, okay. So tonight, a little while back, somebody asked me to do a stream about communism. So I read the Communist Manifesto. I've been brushing up on communism a bit. Are you ready to learn a bit about communism tonight? What it entails, what it means. Hello, Mara. How's it going? I mean, before we do that, I'd like to talk about some news or something like that. There's a particular thing that came up in the news today. Or yesterday. Like, this is quite frankly just... This is just the most abhorrent shit. Yeah, we're going to do communism. We're going to talk communism. I'm going to have a discussion about communism. Like, this is the thing that I struggle with. Because, like, I know the core concepts of communism. I know what communism's goals are. But beyond that, beyond, like, the basic concepts behind it, I'm just kind of like, is there really much to discuss about communism, having read it? Having read up on it? It's like, there's not a whole lot there. I mean, I don't know specifically, like, about communist countries, about the failings of communist countries. Yeah, just a nice discussion. We're just going to talk about the fact of the matter about communism. We might look up videos about communist states and things like that. But I'm just kind of like, knowing what I know, it's like, is there really a whole lot there that's all that particularly interesting? I don't know if I consider myself communist, more socialist. Which are vaguely similar in a lot of ways, but there are some differences. Nice discussion. Yeah, we'll smack people into line. We are all comrades here, and you know what? You can become even more of a comrade. I did want to have a discussion. We've talked about this in the past. I actually did want to have a lengthy discussion about the idea of supporting creators. But with some actual fleshed out points. We did this last time. We did this a couple of days ago. But I wanted to talk about it in depth. But before we get into that, somebody recommended Murray Bookchin to me as well. I don't know what the context is with him. Only interesting communism is Hong Kong. They're being forced into communism. They're being forced into communism from what? What's their current economic status? I look nice tonight, thank you. The problem with humanity is extremes. We're always with the extremes. Oh, we are. Absolutely. I mean, look at... I could say, like, look at America as an example. Descending into full-blown fascism. Yet again, the fascism is not going away anytime soon. Hyatt Hotels says stage resembling Nazi rune is abhorrent. We'll talk about communism in just a moment, but first I want to talk about this. Photo of the stage went viral with thousands of Twitter users comparing its distinctive design to an Odal rune. This is the CPAC stage, which is the, what's it called again? The American Conservative Union. Was it? Yeah, it was hosted at Hyatt Hotels, if I'm not mistaken. This is the design they chose for their little CPAC 2021, whatever the hell that stands for. Which is, as you can see here on the collar of this here Nazi, the Nazi symbol. Why are they using the Nazi symbol? I wonder. The Hyatt Hotels Corporation called symbols of hate abhorrent on Sunday after the design of a stage at the right-wing Conservative Political Action Conference. There we go, we know what CPAC stands for now. At one of its hotels drew comparisons to a Norse rune used by Nazis during the Second World War. On several occasions now we've talked about how the Nazis appropriated numerous different cultural symbols from different places. They might as well have put the 14 and the 88 up there. Look at this shit. America uncancelled. They are going so hard on this cancel culture bullshit, dude. They think Donald Trump losing the election to Joe Biden is Donald Trump being cancelled. Like, can't even spell uncancelled correctly. Conservative Political Action Conference. High-profile Republicans, including former President Donald Trump, were attending the 4-day event in Orlando, Florida, as conflict raged between Trump allies and establishment politicians, trying to distance the party from him. A photo of the CPAC stage went viral on social media on Saturday, with thousands of users sharing posts comparing its distinctive design to an Othala rune, also known as an Odal rune, one of many ancient European symbols that Nazis adopted to reconstruct a mythic Aryan past, according to the Anti-Defamation League. What's the cancel culture? Cancel culture is basically a right-wing term, like essentially, quite frankly. I've seen people who are who would identify as leftist or would be that kind of centrist-y person who's like, oh, I don't get involved in politics. Generally speaking, it's when you say or do something and a large enough group of people bombards you with, hey, that thing you said or did was really bad. And then the person who'd said or did the bad thing was like, oh, they're canceling me. They're going to destroy my life. When previously, what we used to call, what they're calling being cancelled nowadays, we used to call that the consequences of your actions. That's pretty much what cancel culture is. Don't go around screeching the N-word in the middle of a black suburb or something like that. If someone kicks the shit out of you, that's not cancel culture. That's you being a racist and copping the flack for it. The ceiling of the conference room featured a lighting display in the same shape as the stage. Did it? I'm trying to see this. Whatever. According to Reuters photographs. Hyatt said all aspects of conservative. Hyatt said all aspects of conference logistics, including the stage design, were managed by the American Conservative Union, which organized the conference. The comparisons were outrageous and slanderous, Matt Schlapp, chairman of the American Conservative Union, said on Saturday. He added the organization had a long-standing commitment to the Jewish community. I've got a Jewish friend. And that the conference featured several Jewish speakers. It's still a Nazi rune, though. Like, it's still legitimately a Nazi rune. You made your stage a Nazi rune. It's still... What is their next one going to just be a swastika? And they'll say, look, we got some Jewish speakers. That's not how that works. Full mask off, yeah. In its statement on Sunday, In its statement on Sunday, Hyatt said, we take the concern raised about the prospect of symbols of hate being used in the stage design at CPAC 2021 very seriously, as all such symbols are abhorrent and unequivocally counter to our values as a company. Some Trump supporters who launched a deadly insurrection against the US Capitol on 6th of January carried Confederate flags, which many Americans see as a symbol of oppression and slavery. Extremism experts said some of the rioters were members of white nationalist groups. The rune was seen at the white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017 that saw violent fights with counter-protesters and one civil rights activist killed when a neo-fascist drove his car into the crowd. Well, he's not gone yet. He came back at the CPAC, at the conservative, what's it called? Conservative Political Action Conference. He came back at this bloody thing. I don't think we're going to watch his thing, but here we go. The Odal rune on a flag from the 2017 Unite the Right rally a few years ago. Yeah, you didn't get rid of Trump. He's not gone yet. He's still hanging around. Joe Biden cited that event and Trump's assessment at the time that there were very fine people on both sides as a factor in his motivation for running for the Democratic nomination, winning the presidency in November 2020. Trump's presence has dominated this year's CPAC, with his supporters parading a larger-than-life golden statue of him through the lobby of the hotel. You must be kidding. This isn't real. This is fake. This is made up. This is not real. This is not. Send help. I'm just going to go check myself into a padded room. Do they still do those? I think I'm gonna need one. Oh my goodness. They're all business as usual. The DNC isn't really going to solve anything either. Yeah, but the DNC is not making Nazi runes out of their stages. It's a bit of a difference. It's not so much about the politics on display, it's the Nazi symbols. We don't want the Nazi symbols. We all need therapy after this one. We do. Goodness gracious me, we do need therapy. idolize that guy as a businessman. Might I ask why, though? As far as I know, he hasn't really been very good at business. He's lost a ton of the money that his parents originally gave him. Up and fat Yeats, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Not only lost all respect for him, but couldn't even watch the news anymore. I can understand that. I would have I really, really would have liked to have just not been aware of the news cycle the past year or so. But I think the fact that we were all going through lockdown and, you know, just the fact that, especially, like, here's the thing, the first 3 years of his presidency, yeah, he was stupid. He was dumb. But COVID and everything in response to that really accentuated just how bad Donald Trump is at everything. Like my co-sect said, he bankrupted a casino. How do you bankrupt a casino? It's guaranteed money. Like, legitimately, if I had the cash to start, and we're going to get into having the cash to start the capital, we will, in some capacity at least, talk about Das Kapital. I haven't finished the damn thing, but we are going to talk about capital. And having the capital to start up something like a casino. I had the money, I'd start a fucking casino. You kidding me? I'd be living large. At any rate, Kez, what's this clip? Let me see. This is fake. This is made up. This is not real. This is not... Send help. Should I tweet this? Should I tweet this? I feel like I should tweet this. I'm gonna tweet this. I'm gonna download something while I am streaming. Yeah, that's a good idea. Use your internet data to download something while you are live, which will completely fuck your the pure despair. Here we go. That's all I'm gonna tweet. I'm just gonna tweet a golden statue of Trump. I'm gonna try to upload now and fuck my bandwidth even further. Just clipping everything, just clip all of it. Hopefully we'll get some good clip content out of any of this. There you go. Have a Twitter link. That's the... I can't believe this, honestly. Like, just, again, satire world. Everything, every semblance of reality that we used to hold near and dear to our hearts has just disappeared in the last 4 years. It used to be a crazy concept to even think of Donald Trump as president. Anyway, and now it seems very likely he's, oh, Callum, by the way, followed 10 minutes ago. Sorry, I missed you there, friend. Welcome to the Rogue Group. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Anywho, that's... Where were we? I lost my train of thought. We were talking Nazi symbols. Yeah, Nazi symbols. Nazi stage design. Like the tweet. So yeah, we've discussed this before. We discussed, like, the Pete Evans thing. You know, at this point, I feel like it should, quite frankly, it should be part of the common... What's the phrase I'm looking for here? Curriculum. Should be part of the common education curriculum across the world, honestly. To educate kids about the symbology the Nazis used and why using that symbology is a bad idea. Because again, this is flagrantly a Nazi rune right here. On a Nazi collar, it's a Nazi stage. What conclusions are we supposed to draw from that? You know? How are we supposed to just look at that symbol right there and say, well, maybe it's an accident? Like, they could have easily changed that. They could have easily changed that design into something that was not a Nazi rune, maybe? Like, if I even see... I've seen people working in clothing shops moving their shelving around so that they don't look like swastikas. It doesn't take much to be consciously aware of the symbols you create. Honestly. 4 years ago, it was a meme for him to become president. Now Kanye West has become a real threat. How does Trump affect Australia? Actually, there are legitimate Not even kidding. There are legitimate Trump supporters, not a small amount of them either, living here in Australia. And it worries me that someone like him has got as much influence as he has, because that's... Let's not beat around the bush here. He has a white supremacist base. And the majority of the supporters that I've seen, like, actually, there was an actual Melbourne Trump rally. Let me find it. God, there are so many rallies at Melbourne, dude. No, not that one. Pro-Trump supporters. Pro-Trump protesters. This is from the Lad Bible. Why is this the only source I can find? But there were pro-Trump supporters marching through Melbourne, Australia. And yes, Demacia, quite frankly, and Japan. Like, once a whole country becomes comfortable with being bigoted, again, this man, may we elucidate the point that he had more votes in the most recent election than any president in history, barring Joe Biden. So he has a huge supporter base. And his confidence on speaking to these crowds of people that worship him. And the problem is, like, he's not just speaking to American fascists. He's speaking to fascists on a worldwide level. He's speaking to a lot of people. He's trying to big up support for white supremacist fascist movements, to get them confident, to get them prepared to go if they like to, you know. It's dangerous. Quite frankly, it's a dangerous ideology that he espouses. And there's a lot of people that follow it, not just in America, but on a worldwide level. And if we let those movements grow, it can spell disastrous things for everybody. Far worse than communism, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, he's made them feel like their hatred's okay. He's normalized it. Like, if you look back at the way that he was speaking to his constituents, I suppose you would call it, at the like, prior to the Capitol Hill riot, what kind of language was he using? He was talking about being on the aggressive, talking about fighting, saying this is not over, our story's not over. He's speaking like Hitler, dude. He's trying to rile up his base into this notion that they are under some kind of a threat, and we're not going to stop fighting until we've won. But what are they fighting against? Minorities? Things are really bad for a lot of poor whites. Here's the interesting thing, though. The majority of the people who were there at Capitol Hill were well-off white people. They were decked out in combat gear. They had tons and tons of Trump merch. Now, they came prepared. They had money. These were not poor white people. Trump has a significant base, especially among, obviously, wealthy conservatives, rich conservative white people. And it's a lot easier to turn rich conservative white people into fascists, because the whole idea of conservatism is conserving, is holding on to what you've got so that somebody else doesn't take it. And they will see anyone who is queer, anyone who's a person of color, anyone who doesn't fit their specific narrative, they'll see them as a threat to the things that they are so desperately trying to hold on to. They don't want to share. Again, like, this kind of, I guess this is kind of a factor into the communism discussion, really. Because they're dreading the rise of communism, as if such a thing is going on anywhere near America. Or the rise of socialism, which might be a thing. Maybe. Push America left enough to turn either communist or socialist. Pick one. Easier to blame poor people for your problems. They're easy targets who can't fight back. Yes. They also bus pooled. There was some from your Rust Belt state. Rust Belt state? That's an interesting phrase. But yes, there are absolutely, don't get me wrong, there are absolutely poor white conservatives who get easily coerced into these things. Typically, honestly, people who say to themselves that they're not political, they don't think about politics. And to that end, like, they generally don't. They don't think about the actual legislation that's being made. They don't think about, like, the real issues. They think about the fear that they've been led to believe, like, yeah, they let other people do the thinking for them, pretty much. Honestly, this is why Trump is so scary, is because What does he say that's factual? What does he say that's grounded in reality? What does he say that's... what has he said throughout his run as president and prior to and post? When has he ever said anything factual as a president? All he has ever tried to spread is propaganda. His entire foundation as a president, his entire foundation as a political leader, is to rile up his base, to make them angry. To give them a target, to point them at that target and say, there's the reason that you have problems. People seem to have less of a thought process when it comes to the consequences of their actions because they have very little to lose. Poor people seem to have less of a thought process. Possibly? I suppose that makes sense, yeah. What was I missing? Oh yeah,
Welcome
some of
to
them
the
flew
Rogue
out in
Room.
private jets, they did. Ivici, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Poverty in the form of wealth disparity. Like the wealthy in the Rust Belt are really wealthy, and the poor there are really poor. Yeah. I think he said something truthful about trade once by sheer chance. But yeah, like that's the real issue, is that poverty in America is... Like, the wealth disparity in America is ridiculous. Like, the argument about... I think they've just largely glossed over the, what's it called? The minimum wage discussion has been pushed aside for the time being in favor of other political issues, I guess. And that's really not helping all of the... Like, the monumental number of poor people in America who are working full-time jobs and unable to cover basic cost of living. The concept of cost of living is absolutely absurd, by the way. It's always going to happen under a capitalist dystopia, which America absolutely is. The wealthy get wealthier, the poor get poorer, and there's no social mobility. There's no way for people who are in poor situations to get out of those situations. They are stuck. And this is all honestly very relevant to what we were going to talk about, quite frankly. A lot of these significant issues that we're talking about stem specifically from capitalistic ideology. Many small towns and villages in your state that don't have access to jobs, transportation, and food. Yeah. COVID just exacerbated all those problems. Oh, it absolutely did. You know. Which is kind of ironic. Like, there's a good meme that I saw. I forget where I saw it. There was a good meme that was talking about the fact that, you know, it took a pandemic to show the world that, you know, we could take care of our people. There's enough money to take care of our people. And yet, let me think for a sec. And yet, even as, like, the pandemic has been going on for a year, it's become demonstrably obvious, like, especially with regards to America, I feel like, that, it should be quite obvious now that America doesn't want to take care of its poor. It doesn't want to give those checks out. It doesn't want to boost that minimum wage. It doesn't want to help people who can't help themselves, who literally have no way out of their situation. Barring, like, going into crime. Just go into crime. Start committing crimes. I saw a TikTok the other day about the state of the US economy. She was snapped at by a customer at a gas station who was working out for being tired because she works at a gas station without realizing she works 3 jobs, goes to school, and is a single mother. How in the fuck are we supposed to expect somebody to work 3 jobs, go to school, and be a single parent? How are we supposed to expect that of people? Even the small gas station may have closed down. If you don't have a job or car, you can't leave easily to get even basic food. Ridiculous. How is that a thing in a country like America? With as much money as America has, how is that even possibly a thing? How is that even a concept all over the Midwest? Solved houselessness with ease in some countries. Yeah. Socialized housing is a good idea that more countries need to implement. I think Australia actually had socialized housing for a bit. There was some really good socialized housing units built up in Australia before the government decided, you know what, we're going to sell those to real estate companies. So now there's no socialized housing, or at least not to the extent that they used to be. You know, give the homeless homes, give the jobless jobs. They have the opportunity to do this, but capitalism by its very design is, you know, specifically tailored towards making certain people unable to get out of their social situation. Poverty is already solvable. There's just no will and too much ignorance. A lot of really lazy people. Do you think that laziness is not a symptom of the society they live in, though? A lot of the laziness that you might be perceiving is sheer nihilism. These people see how absurd it is. The situation that they're living in, how completely bleak it is. And it's like, what's the point in even trying? That's where the laziness stems from. From Poland, and say you work in a restaurant, you get at monthly $350. An apartment is $400. Wait, what? Really? Bring forth the socialized housing, the universal basic income, the industry automation. Comrades! Rise up, comrades. We change the room to red and yellow. I feel like if I change the room to red and yellow, it's just going to look like a McDonald's in here. Not like a communist utopia. People with wealth saying, I don't want affordable housing in my neighborhood, then they go to church and pretend to worship Jesus. You're not wrong. Who was also pentagram? Who mentioned something about the pentagram a minute ago? Was it Capitol Hill or something? Was it shaped like a pentagram? Let me have a look. Aerial shot? No, it's not really. There's some pentagram symbology there, I suppose. Like that's kind of... Nah, I don't see it. It's a stretch. It's nowhere near as bad as this. Nowhere near as bad and blatant as that. I'm not answering that question. You should figure out why. But should we actually talk about... on the subject. Do we stick with the Donald Trump thing for a second, or do we... Oh, the main buildings are shaped like a pentagram. Oh, okay. Or do you just mean the Pentagon? And do I have to look it up again? Alright. Capitol Hill layout. Is that what you mean? No, that's the... Do you have an example of what you mean? I can't figure out what you... Unless... Let's actually try Googling. Capitol Hill pentagram. Is this a real thing? Oh, okay. Is this what you're talking about? Is that what you're getting at, Erebus? I mean, I suppose. A bit of a stretch still. I think some people are like looking for, like they're trying to look for that one. A bit squashed. Oh, I didn't think your name was a reference to that. No, we were just because we were talking about pentagrams. Got your remote and went to the kitchen to chop veggies. You can chop veggies if you want. I'm just gonna stop you. I'm not gonna stop you chopping veggies. Don't worry. An old gamer tag. 5-a-side like CS:GO. Also a double entendre if you read it. You're gonna have to explain the double entendre to me because I'm not getting it. That's a point upwards. That's a pentacle. Oh, okay. Is the pentacle the upside down one, is it? Or is it the other way around? Anyway, would we argue? Let me think for a second. Where were we? We were still talking about the CPAC thing. Your band hammer is now sharp and pointy. Please stab some people if you would like to. What were we talking about? We were talking about socialism, I think. Which I'm still learning all of this shit, quite frankly. I'm still going through, like, I did read the Communist Manifesto. It's not very long. Literally, if you go on a website called Marxists.org, you can find a ton of leftist literature. There's also other places you can go and you can find, like, a whole ton of I forget what this other website was called, but there's another website you can go to where you can find a ton of free literature that's all been scanned. Hello, Lemon. How you doing? How's it going? It isn't laziness, it's people realizing it isn't worth trying to get a job in a society that refuses to see people who are homeless as people. Pretty much. And like, don't get me wrong, there are definitely lazy people out there who refuse to do anything, who refuse to do any kind of work. But quite frankly, let's be real with ourselves. They're people that come from wealth. The people who are poor and lazy, by your own definition, are in that position because of depression. Institutional depression. Let's talk about institutional depression as a concept. The black lipstick, I know. Interior pentagon pointing upwards. Pentacle, interior pentagon pointing down equals pentagram. Oh, okay, I get you. Alright. Yeah, I got the black lipstick. I'll click on that in a sec, Erebus. Let's talk about, what was his name? Durkheim. Which is, we are going to talk about communism shortly, Lemon. We've just sort of been rambling about politics a little bit. This is not exactly what I wanted, actually. Durkheim is not really what I want. I do need to read this book properly. I've only read excerpts from Suicide. Let me think. Is this it? Maybe this will help. Trying to find a good resource on systemic depression, right? Which is the state by which people are able to observe the society they live in, are able to observe the world they live in, and get either they're employed, or they're unemployed, or they're underemployed, or they just see there's no social mobility for them, and they just get embedded in this depressive mood, which doesn't help them in any reasonable way. Like being in a depressed state where they say to themselves, well, I'm just going to continue being yet another cog in the machine, or not, because there's no point no matter what I do, you know? Nihilism isn't giving up. Hang on a sec. Let me refresh my memory about nihilism. I was just looking this up the other day. This is a bit further than what I was planning on going for here. The Nebula of Cats. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. I swear the Botwick, you're getting really slow on the take with those follow alerts. This one is a bit further than the social concept of nihilism I was going for. Nihilism is the belief that all values are baseless and that nothing can be known or communicated. It is often associated with extreme pessimism and a radical skepticism that condemns existence. Nebula, thank you for the host. A true nihilist would believe in nothing, have no loyalties and no purpose other than perhaps an impulse to destroy. I've felt pretty nihilistic sometimes. You know, the idea that all of it is, I mean, we're talking about this now. We're talking about the idea of people who are lazy. Right? We're too quick to pass that judgment. The wage slave. Get back in the wagey cagey. Much as the film Zeitgeist has it. I mean, I know how the having too many bills, not enough money situation is. I've just paid a huge expense that I probably could have waited on. I probably could have pushed that back a little bit, but I've just decided to go for it, which is not great. It's left me short, but it's important. An important expense. And the regrettable scenario is that we all have lots of expenses constantly. See someone who's homeless and you think, I hope they're at least happy with what they have, not matter what they don't have. And I feel like that second part would be very difficult for a lot of people to, if they're already in that mindset, it's very difficult to break that, because as much as we'd like to talk about how there are definitely people in society who are ignorant of the way things work, I feel like particularly impoverished people or borderline impoverished people or those who are, living paycheck to paycheck sort of thing are very much aware of the situation they're in. And that feeds into this Great Depression, like not the Great Depression, feeds into this overall, quite frankly, epidemic depressive mindset, which restricts some people from perhaps finding their potential and moving on to a better state of things. Like, and even then, like, even if they did suddenly like overcome that depression and find the spur of energy they needed to strive towards something better, there's no guarantee it's going to lead anywhere. Here's me going into a degree that may end up just putting me in debt and me not having anything at the other end of it. Right? That's where I'm at with this whole thing. Being homeless is not a fun time here. It would be hard not to feel resentful. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Super appreciative of this kind of content. Super appreciate this kind of content, I should say. Definitely tune in whenever you can. I appreciate that, Nebula. Hang on. Depression has been declared by the World Health Organization in March of 2017 to be the illness with the greatest burden of disease in the world. This volume attempts to examine the current state of our understanding of depressive disorders from the animal models, allostatin load, patterns of recurrence, effects on other illnesses, for example, cancer, neurological, cardiovascular, wound healing, etc. It is from this perspective that the editors declare depression is a systemic illness, not just a mental disorder. See? Systemic. Embedded in the system. Therefore, primary care physicians need to know how to diagnose, treat, and refer when necessary for the non-complicated, non-refractory forms of depression. From this perspective, models of mental health training for the primary care physician are reviewed. Then a new model, the medical model, a new model, the medical model, a step beyond collaborative care is described. Non-complicated depressive illness needs to be addressed by the primary care, blah, blah, blah. We're just talking medicine now. That's not really what we're going for. We're not really going for that. That's not really the angle I'm going for here. But I gotta be honest, I'm not sure if I trust a website called Very Well Mind. It sort of reads as kind of I don't know, like just the phrasing very well mind almost reads as woo to me. Also, technically the last day of Feb is now designated Rare Disease Day. That's interesting. Wait. It's being do you mean like being contemptuous broken? Or do you mean you're a social anarchist, can't live that way without looking like a crazy person? Well, true, fair. How do we get onto depression? I mean, I suppose this kind of conversation always tends to lead into places like this. Systems for caring for mental health and behavioral issues are very poor. Very poor. They're very poor in general. This is one of the major issues with mental health diagnoses. The issues with mental health treatment is I used to go to a psychologist. It's just a psychologist once a month. And that was a solid $200 I had to pay up front, and then I had to chase them up for my Medicare rebate. So at least we got a Medicare rebate. But a lot of people aren't going to have the opportunity, aren't going to have the time to book a therapist, aren't going to have the money to book a therapist. And they might have numerous other numerous other things in the way, numerous other expenses they have to cover. So mental health care gets sort of not prioritized in the same way that like dental is not prioritized, optical is not prioritized. There's only certain levels of medical care that fall under, say, for example, the universal healthcare umbrella, much like what we have here in Australia, Medicare. We don't have everything covered. We only have general practitioner stuff covered, generally speaking. And yeah, like cares, I had to go, it wasn't that long. I had to go about 30-40 minutes out of my way. I had to drive somewhere, to go to my own appointment. So there's not enough there's not enough mental health support out there. It's too expensive. There's not enough mental health professionals. There's not enough appointments. There's not enough hours in the day to treat everyone. So what it ends up being, being that depression is a systemic illness, there's a systemic treatment for it, and that systemic treatment is antidepressants. I've been on, I think is escitalopram one? That was one that I used to take. Yeah, I was on escitalopram. What else was I on? I'm gonna find out what types of antidepressants there are. No, I want like the actual labels. Actual whatever. At any rate, there have been a number of antidepressants I've tried, and generally speaking, citalopram hydrobromide, yeah. I tried that one. I was on a few others, and the overall result of all of those, my experience and the experience I've had learning from other people who've been on antidepressants, is it shuts down your emotional capacity. You become efficient, but you stop feeling. It's honestly worse than having some kind of feeling, even if that feeling is negative. You just become, okay, yep, I'm gonna go do the job now, boss. Cool. And you're just dead to the world. That's been my experience with it, is it doesn't really fix anything. It just makes you flat and it makes you productive. Anarchism isn't a terrifying concept once you understand social governing. Well, there you go. Maybe I need to read about social governing. I actually did some of my lectures for uni today, which was good. Reigniting that spark in my head about the sociological perspective. This isn't very helpful. How antidepressants work. It's not known exactly how antidepressants work. Cool, science. But depression as a systemic disease. There is an increasing trend toward evidence supporting the theory of depression as a systemic disease. A systemic illness is one that affects the whole body rather than just a single body part or organ system. This differs from a localized illness that only affects a single part of the body. Definitions of mental and physical illness may overlap more than researchers previously thought, such that the distinction between illness of the mind and illness of the body is blurred. Could it be that depression, an illness that can be treated with psychotherapy, can have an influence on the physical body, and if so, what does that mean? Labeling depression as a disease does not entirely capture the complex nature of the illness. However, it is a move toward understanding it as a disorder of both the mind and body. Herman Munster Cheese, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. You switched from... Oh yeah, I had sertraline. Yeah, as a last resort, and this is the thing, is for a lot of people, going on antidepressants is the first resort. You go to the GP, you say you're depressed, and the GP prescribes you an antidepressant before anything else. That's my general take on it. That's what I've seen happening. A lot of people, my sister, for example, went on antidepressants for a bit. I've had friends go on it. And that was their first protocol. They went to the doctor, said, I'm depressed, and the doctor didn't recommend therapy or anything like that. They just said, here's a drug, take a drug to fix up whatever's wrong with you. That was their only solution. Prescribed to, and you remember eventually stopping using it as an antidepressant and started taking it as a treatment for your PED. Wait, PED? What's PED? Evidence to support depression as a systemic disease comes in the form of biological changes that are seen in patients with depression. For example, inflammation, neuroendocrine regulation, platelet activity, autonomic nervous system activity, and skeletal homeostasis. Is it skeletal or skeletal? Here's a poll for you. How do you pronounce this? There you go. Hey, go back. Here we go. I have a poll for you. 5 minutes. Oh my god, I made it 5 minutes. Okay. And it does that quite well. We now have a 5-minute poll going, so get in while you can, folks. It's 5 minutes long. Yeah, 2 therapists at one point. One wanted you to put... Oh my god, I can't read. One wanted to put you on cognitive behavioral therapy to teach you a few tips and tricks, and the other 3 you on sodium valproate after an hour of knowing you. What a great system. Don't hate anyone, you respect everyone and who they are. Well, that's good. Dr. Tanson, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. As long as you're not killing anyone, we're good. How did we get onto this? We got onto this from laziness, homelessness, and the social conditions that put people in pretty severe circumstances. Yeah, we got here from homelessness issues. One of the... Oh, true. True. One of the side effects. Been in jail, it sucks, I can imagine. Well, there we go. How do you folks pronounce it? Yeah, I go skeletal. But I also did study under someone who was a medical professional who often referred to it as skeletal for some reason. I don't know why. In this way, it is possible to see how depression could have a relationship to conditions like heart disease, cancer, or diabetes, the very illnesses to which it is being compared. If depression is related to your immune response, how might that look? A meta-analysis conducted at the University of Granada and published in the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry examined changes in the bodies of depressed people based on 29 previously published studies. It was found that depression caused an imbalance in the antioxidants and free radicals that can potentially damage the cells of the body, also referred to as oxidative stress. There you go. Skeletal, more like skeetal, can fix your brain disease. Fix my depression, doctor, with drugs. Might be regional, it might be regional. Yeet. After these patients with depression received treatment, their levels of malondialdehyde, there we go, a biomarker indicating oxidative stress, went back down to healthy levels. In addition, it was shown that their levels of zinc and uric acid rose back to normal levels after treatment. So, what are we taking away from this so far? We haven't even gotten into communism yet. We'll get to communism soon. We haven't even gotten into the communists. We briefly dipped into it. Que onda? I don't speak anything other than English, sorry. Let's see here. So, depression as a systemic issue. We need to eat more coins. Yes, we need to eat more money. Like, this book is one that I want to read. I've read about Durkheim's suicide, where he talks about it was the first suicide, a study in sociology, is an 1897 book written by French sociologist Émile Durkheim. It was the first methodological study of a social fact in the context of society. It is ostensibly a case study of suicide, a publication unique for its time that provided an example of what the sociological monograph should look like. According to Durkheim, the term suicide is applied to all cases of death resulting directly or indirectly from a positive or negative act of the victim himself, which he knows will produce this result. He also believes that because of high levels of anomie, that's an interesting word because I'm not quite sure what the actual definition of the word is. There are high levels of suicide. Anomie, lack of the usual social or ethical standards in an individual or group. So, we could just go over, the brief concepts of what Durkheim wrote on here. Because this, I feel, is relevant to the concept of systemic depression, right? Of course, this is a 124-year-old book at this point. It's a type of Japanese animation. Talking about the problems of living in the death cult society, pretty much. Been in twice, both for assault charges that you cop for beating up sexual assault perpetrators. Luckily, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. How you doing, friend? We're talking some really dark shit right now. We're talking about... Well, it's sociology. And we'll get into communism. Trust me. We'll get into communism, comrades. Go back a third time if you catch another abuser. Fuck him up. Now, I can't say that. I'm a staunch pacifist. You know I'm a staunch pacifist. McDonald's manager, how's it going? Let's talk about... Okay, so 14 of you said skeletal, which I agree. Skeletal. It's not skeletal. I'm sorry, Miss Teacher Lady, who was actually a medical professional of 10 plus years or whatever you were. But skeletal is wrong. Let's talk about the 4 different types of suicide according to Durkheim. Émile Durkheim. I'm going to say, actually, hang on. I wonder. Because we had Marxists.org. Would Durkheim be on here, I wonder? Durkheim! Fuck yeah, mate. The General Spirit of Pragmatism, 13th Lecture. Is this the only thing they have? They don't have... Okay, I'll have to find a copy of Durkheim's Suicide. Ban! Get banned. Can we get some bans that will... yeah, fuck it, why not? No, you know what? Unban them. I want to see if they come back. Hang on. Thank you for the hydration. I want to see what happens if they come back. I doubt they will. Next one we see, let me add him. Let me add him. I wanna rip into some cunts tonight. Anyway, I need that catharsis. Can't time. At any rate, we can talk about, like, let's just read the Wikipedia article. Let them sit in the unbanned requests. I hope they do some unbanned requests. They're already in there. Oh my god, dude. Where were they? There are 2 here. Okay. There's 2 here already. When was this? Load previous. When was this created? Account created February 27. I don't even recognize who this is. This person who's like, this person who has been banned. Their unbanned request is Die Trannies. Very original. I genuinely don't know who this is. I don't remember their name. And then this person is just a bunch of slurs. Just slurs. How boring. How boring can you be? Come on, guys. Can I get out of... Can I go back to where I was? Because that kind of fucked up my thing. Okay. Now I can't see anything that happened in chat. There we go. Well, I've missed chat now. Great. I fucked it for myself. Yeah, we're only here so we can toy with you. This is the wrong platform for that. True. But you did come back. You did come back. Okay. Do toy time? In a sec. And let's talk about Durkheim for a sec. I want to talk about Durkheim and then we'll toy with this imbecile. In Durkheim's view, suicide comes in 4 types, which are based on the degrees of imbalance between 2 social forces. The degrees of imbalance of 2 social forces, sorry. Social integration and moral regulation. Durkheim noted the effects of various crises on social aggregates war. On social aggregates, there's a dash there and I thought it was the same thing. On social aggregates. War, for example, leading to an increase in altruism, economic boom, or disaster contributing to anomie. A societal condition defined by an uprooting or breakdown of any moral values, standards, or guidance for individuals to follow. I am looking very, very gothic. It's like it's a nice contrast of like the dark makeup and the white outfit. My outfit is pretty cute. You like the top? I got this at a one of those stores that's like, I can't remember what the name of it is because it's an individual, like an indie shop that had a bunch of really cool, very expensive stuff in it. Model for us, I can model for you. Why not? Let's show off the fit. Show off the fit for the night. And like my emotionally... Hello. My camera's in a bit of a weird position. There you have it. Oh god, no, my feet are in the shot. Gross. But at the very least, I get to show off this and this. You like my emotionally exhausted blanket? You like it? Time for you to hit the sack. Have a good one, Lisa. We'll try to stay out of trouble while we're reading about suicide. I'm gonna get this book. I'm gonna read it. In Durkheim's view, suicide comes in... We read that bit. Egoistic suicide reflects a prolonged sense of not belonging, of not being integrated in a community. It comes from the suicide sense that they have no tether. This absence can give rise to meaninglessness, apathy, melancholy, and depression. Durkheim calls such detachment excessive individuation. Those individuals who were not sufficiently bound to social groups, and therefore well-defined values, traditions, norms, and goals, were left with little social support or guidance and were therefore more likely to commit suicide. Durkheim found that suicide occurred more often among unmarried people, especially unmarried men, whom he found had less to bind and connect them to stable social norms and goals. Doesn't everyone have monkey feet? We come from monkey. Is this an autism checklist now? Wait, are you talking about the... Yeah. Ego is like... Durkheim just literally listed a whole bunch of autistic traits and then was just like... That's a reason for suicide. I have heard that Durkheim's work has been rather controversial. There's been a lot of people who have been discussing his different ideas and have been very skeptical and critical of them, which we should be with all... with any sort of text, any sort of philosophy or anything like that. You do stand up, I stand up as well. Because my legs work, I guess. Nothing against people whose legs don't work. I hope you have a very pleasant life. You love the headband? Thank you. What am I missing? Watching like a hawk. Yeah, watch like a hawk. Anyway. I'm not going to stop looking at anyone like anything. Enjoy my gaze. And my straights. It's not tissue paper. It's it's just like fabric. I don't know why you think it's tissue paper. Talk about, this is interesting. Altruistic suicide. It's got its own little, it's got its own article here. There's actually a whole full-blown Wikipedia article just for the concept of altruistic suicide. I suppose because this one is more of a, this one refers to self-sacrifice. Is characterized by a sense of being overwhelmed by a group's goals and beliefs. Hang on a second, these are two different concepts. It occurs in societies with high integration where individual needs are seen as less important than the society's needs as a whole. Thus they occur on the opposite integration scale as egoistic suicide. As individual interest would not be considered important, Durkheim stated that in an altruistic society, there would be little reason for people to commit suicide. He described one exception, when the individual is expected to kill himself on behalf of society, for example in military service. Karma Girl, thank you for the host. Have I been going for that long already? Jesus Christ. Detroit, there you go. No more timeouts, then behave. Here we go. We're just talking about suicide at the moment. Cutting into your FF14. Anomic suicide reflects an individual's moral confusion and lack of social direction, which is related to dramatic social and economic upheaval. It is the product of moral deregulation and a lack of definition of legitimate aspirations through a restraining social ethic, which could impose meaning and order on the individual conscience. This is symptomatic of a failure of economic development and division of labor to produce Durkheim's organic solidarity. People do not know where they fit within their societies. Dude, Durkheim just literally wrote about autism and then said, oh, by the way, some of the effects of autism would make you kill yourself. I was going to say, like, haven't you got some burgers to flip? And I thought you were going to follow up with teenagers to flip. We really shouldn't. I was going to go off on this troll, but I'm lazy. Friends thinks you're cute. He's too shy to say he likes trans women. You just refer to trans women as women like they are. They're just women. If your friend likes trans women, your friend likes women. There you go. Durkheim explains that this is a state of moral disorder where people do not know the limits on their desires and are constantly in a state of disappointment. This can occur when they go through extreme changes in wealth. I mean, if this goes from like high wealth to low or low to high. Have you heard of the people who win the lottery? You were talking about how you didn't win the lottery, Kaz. You heard about these people who win the lottery and end up killing themselves because they're not used to the fact that all of a sudden they've got tons and tons of money and they don't know. It's like they're overwhelmed by what to do with this newfound extreme change in wealth. It's like the what's it called? I've forgotten. The lifestyle being upended causes the person to be overwhelmed. Completely overwhelmed. I mean, I'm proud of being called a trans woman, but we're still just women. And yeah, not all trans people have a penis. True. While this includes economic ruin, it can also include windfall gains. Dale Bastion, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. In both cases, previous expectations from life are brushed aside and new expectations are needed before they can judge their new situation in relation to the new limits. Fatalistic suicide, final one, and then we'll stop. We'll stop with the suicide talk after this and we'll go to communism. We'll do some communism. But I'm actually genuinely enjoying reading this because, yeah, I want to actually read Durkheim's actual work. Again, I've read excerpts. Fatalistic suicide occurs when a person is excessively regulated, when their futures are pitilessly blocked and passions are violently choked by oppressive discipline. This is probably the primary depression type we were talking about earlier with regards to homeless people or those that are living in excessively impoverished conditions. Like they feel completely and totally just bogged down by circumstances beyond their control. Right? They can't move anywhere. They can't. No social mobility. No job availabilities that might offer them the opportunity to get out of their current situation. Got a bit heated by that, dog. How mean is it to know someone isn't good and put them on stage to do stand-up? I need to produce a room again. No, we don't like that word. Crab is going to be grumpy today. Don't tease Crab. Crab does a very good job. Crab is amazing. So wait. It is the opposite of anomic suicide and occurs in societies so oppressive that their inhabitants would rather die than live on. For example, some prisoners might prefer to die than live in a prison with constant abuse and excessive regulation. Again, I am going to go out of my way here to say we need, what's that called? Instead of imprisonment, instead of prison sentences, we need, what's the term? Rehabilitation. Unlike the other concepts he developed, Durkheim believed that fatalistic suicide was theoretical and probably did not exist in reality. Really? Really, dude? Did not exist in reality. Come on. Anyway. There's a lot more here if you want to read the entire Wikipedia page for Durkheim's suicide. Go Google that. Go give that a look. Whip out the hammer, Kes. Whip it out. Whip it out and smack some faces. I'm going to see if I can find a copy of it. There's a PDF. Study in Sociology. 1897. Can I want to buy a copy of it. Can I buy their paperback? On Suicide by Emile Durkheim. Why is it called On Suicide? Whatever. It's available. I'm gonna get it. Not now. Oh, what kind of suicide did it say didn't exist? Fatalistic suicide. So the one, basically what it sounds like is that if you lived in an incredibly oppressive, authoritarian, fascistic regime, you're probably going to kill yourself because you don't want to live in it. And in this case, he referred to specifically people who were living in prison and things like that, you know, under a lot of stress, a lot of rules. And I was like, why did he assume that was entirely theoretical? That's like one of the most obvious ones. Something that you try to untaboo by talking about it openly. That's a good idea. However, I can see two sides to a coin here. If you were to bring that up, the fear that you might upset somebody to the point where it might trigger them if you talk about suicide as openly as I have just done. Or what was the other side of it? God, I had a point here that I was going to make. Like, yeah, on the one hand, I think talking openly about it is a good thing. Talking openly about it allows people to break down these concepts. That's the good side. The bad side is you might upset someone enough that it would set them off. Or just make them particularly uncomfortable. Of course. And we don't want to make anyone particularly uncomfortable talking about a certain thing, but I suppose we've come to realize now that this channel is really heavy conversations constantly. Constantly, mate. Can we talk communism? I mean, we've got 20 minutes until the break. Do we start the communism talk now, or do we ramble on a bit more about philosophical and sociological ideas that I like? Which I suppose communism is one of those. What do you reckon? We do have access to the Communist Manifesto, the entire thing. Or trigger suicidal ideation, exactly. And to that end, you know, you can't really... Communism later. Rambles and communism after the break, okay. Commie talk. We'll get to commie talk, don't worry. We will. A bit of philosophy. Well, we can do that. We can ramble a bit of philosophy. We can talk ideas. Do I get to pick or do you want to pick? Did we do this one? Man was born free, yet everywhere he is in chains? Dude, that's very relevant. Can we do that one? That's very relevant. Ancient philosophy, okay. What do we got? The life which is unexamined is not worth living. Truth resides in the world around us. Everything is made of water. I like Thales. We haven't done Thales yet. Let's do Thales of Miletus. The ancient world. Everything is made of water. We like Thales of Miletus. No anarchy talk. We can talk anarchy. Okay, so during the Archaic period, mid-8th to 6th century BCE, the peoples of the Greek peninsula gradually settled into a group of city-states. They developed an alphabetical system of writing, as well as the beginnings of what is now recognized as Western philosophy. Previous civilizations had relied on religion to explain phenomena in the world around them. Now a new breed of thinkers emerged, who attempted to find natural, rational explanations. What's up, Chaotic? How's it going? The first of these new scientific thinkers that we are aware of was Thales of Miletus. I think it's either Thales of Miletus or Thales of Miletus, one of those. Gonna go back to FF14, sounds good. Sounds goodly. Nothing survives of his writings, but we know that he had a good grasp of geometry and astronomy and was reputed to have predicted a total eclipse of the sun in 585 BCE. This practical turn of mind led him to believe that the events of the world were not due to supernatural intervention. There's a red mark on my book. Someone has marked my book. That's not cool, dude. But had natural causes that reason and observation would reveal. You were on a panel about assisted suicide once. That's an interesting topic. I'd like to talk about that. Thales needed to establish a first principle from which to work, so he posed the question, what is the basic material of the cosmos? The idea that everything in the universe can be ultimately reduced to a single substance is the theory of monism, and Thales and his followers were the first to propose it within Western philosophy. It was probably Marx. Thales reasons that the fundamental material of the universe had to be something out of... Thales reasons that the fundamental material out of which... Oh my god, I can't read. Let me start this again. I'll get it, don't worry. Thales reasons that the fundamental material of the universe had to be something out of which everything else could be formed, as well as being essential to life and capable of motion and therefore of change. He observes that water is clearly necessary to sustain all forms of life and that it moves and changes, assuming different forms from liquid to solid ice and vaporous mist. So Thales concludes that all matter, regardless of its apparent properties, must be water in some stage of transformation. Thales also notes that every landmass appears to come to an end at the water's edge. From this, he deduces that the whole of the Earth must be floating on a bed of water from which it has emerged. When anything occurs to cause ripples or tremors in the water, Thales states, we experience them as earthquakes. However, as interesting as the details of Thales' theories are, they are not the main reason why he is considered a major figure in the history of philosophy. His true importance lies in the fact that he was the first known thinker to seek naturalistic, rational answers to fundamental questions rather than to ascribe objects and events to the whims of capricious gods. Wow. Hello, Comrade Haley, how you doing? We're just reading a tiny bit about Thales of Miletus. By doing so, he and later philosophers of the Milesian school laid the foundations for future scientific and philosophical thought, I can't read, across the Western world. There you go. Very basic little introduction to some Western philosophy. We're reading about Thales of Miletus, who wrote that everything is water. Sis, you're hot. I am. I haven't got the air conditioning on. We mod for a guy named Doc Midnight. It was his panel. His panels are cool. You don't do panels such as Prime Ks anymore. It's too toxic for your autistic ass. We're just rambling a little bit at the moment because we're taking a break in about 15 minutes. Taking a 5-minute break in about 15 minutes. So we're just chilling. We're just relaxing a little bit. It's been muggy. Yeah, it's been muggy. Because I usually take my break at 10:30. And then we'll come back. We'll dive straight into communism. On the subject of the CPAC thing from before, unshockingly, entirely unshockingly, okay, comrade, a retort with a little interpretation, I don't have the air conditioning on, very good, yeah. It's hot, it's very hot. You can do that. Exclamation mark rogue. We're going to actually do a little bit of a breakdown about what communism is in a little while. Because, you know, somebody recommended we do a communism stream. This is my attempt at it. We've been talking about concepts that are vaguely related to it. Have you got like a, have you got like a, I don't even know what it's called. The emote extension that you put in Chrome or whatever it is. I don't have that installed. BTTV or whatever it is, FFC. I don't have either of those, so I can't see like custom emotes. Anyway, unshockingly, like we can come back to the thing before about Trump and the CPAC, and for anyone who missed it, the CPAC 2021 stage is shaped like a Nazi symbol, just so we're 100% on the same page here. This is an odal rune, which is a Nazi symbol that the Conservative Political Action Conference decided would be a great idea to set their stage up. It doesn't really address any of those issues we're talking about. It's just like some of the things that we have talked about are vaguely relevant to communism. Vaguely. But unshockingly, Donald Trump hints he could run again for presidency. What a shock that is. Former US President Donald Trump has teased another run for the presidency in 2024, brushing off talk of starting a new political party and vowing to drive his Republican enemies out of office in his first speech since leaving the White House. This is so ridiculous. Like, the man has no tact when it comes to... This is what worries me. It's like, his whole thing is aggression. His whole thing is attacking my enemies. I have to destroy my enemies. That's his whole thing. Hang on. What do those issues look like under communism? Well, that's something we could unpack. What's up from Auckland? How's it going, Weeko? How's it hanging?
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Comrade Haley, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Before this and Pete Evans posting a black sun, you didn't know Nazi occultism was that recognizable. This is the problem, honestly. We teach kids to recognize the swastika, but we don't teach them to recognize any of the other occult symbols that were... We don't teach... Like, we teach children at a certain age. I don't know when we start teaching them about, like, World War II and stuff like that in schools. But they learn about the swastika, but that's it. They don't talk about any of the other numerous symbols the Nazis used. And that's kind of worrying. He's so blind to the possible consequences of starting a civil war. Trump is a doof. He is. He's been impeached, but as far as I know, he hasn't been, like, charged or whatever it is. Like, he hasn't been, they haven't been successful impeachments. At world history, he was acquitted. There you go. Trump revived... Yeah, I'd say he doesn't care. Or he wants a civil war. He wants a civil war. Trump revised his false claims that he was the true victor of the November election and that Democrats rigged the result against him, lies that inspired his supporters to storm the Capitol on January 6th. He also indicated that he would campaign against Republicans in Congress who had voted to impeach him and work to replace them with candidates who are loyal to him and his America First agenda. Like, what does this sound like to you? What's my opinion on Barack Obama? Quite frankly, I don't really have any on him. I know he committed war crimes. That's bad. Fascism. That's blatant fascistic ideology that he's espousing right there. You're going to remove candidates who had voted to impeach him and replace them with candidates who are loyal to him. This is flagrant fascism. This is entirely obvious fascism. And again, like we talked about we talk about how anti-vaxxers are fascist because the main reason is spreading a false reality, trying to spread this idea of the world that is based entirely in fiction. And again, the election was rigged. They stole the election from us. And numerous other different things that they're going on about. Trying to spread this completely fictional view of the world. Dan Harmon, although problematic in his own right, called this 5 years ago. Wouldn't shock me, honestly. Do you have a link to stuff that he said, Pentagram? I'd like to read that. Yeah, bash some fash. The old GOP is dying or dead. Well, true. And hopefully that's a good thing. Hopefully we get some of these fascists out of American politics, because an American fascist dictatorship sounds like a fucking bad idea. Hey, Hoonatic, how's it going? Like to see Trump try and grab you like a bowling ball, dude, with his ass kicked. We have a very sick and corrupt electoral process that must be fixed immediately. I mean, yes, he's not wrong there, but the reason he's saying that there's a very sick and corrupt electoral process is because he's a sore loser. He's a sore loser. Trump initially refrained from repeating his election fraud claims following the January 6th riot, which resulted in 5 deaths, but he now feels liberated to return to the theme following his acquittal in his Senate impeachment trial. It's Harmontown content. Oh, okay. Never mind then. If it was like a tweet or something, that would have been easier. Bootlickers are fascist also based on the fact that they ignore corruption and brutality. Yeah. There's like a disturb. This is the problem with talking about fascism, right? This is the problem with talking about referring to anyone as actually fascist. Is the moment you start saying this is fascist, that is fascist, that is fascist, it becomes a buzzword, and then everybody is gonna laugh at you for calling actual fascism out for what it actually is, which is fascism. Referring to his Democratic opponents, Trump said, "Actually, as you know, they just lost the White House. I may even decide to beat them for a third time." Again, sore loser. While not officially declaring himself a candidate for the 2024 election, Trump hinted that it was highly possible, saying, "We will first take back the White House, and then a Republican president will make a triumphant return to the White House. I wonder who that will be." His words. His speech drew a standing ovation again from the people who were watching from a stage shaped like a Nazi symbol. The conservative activists in the crowd who chanted, "You won, and 4 more years." Trump said his incredible journey with the Republican Party was only just beginning. "We began it together 4 years ago, and it is far from being over," he said. Trump dismissed reports that he had considered forming a new breakaway conservative party, saying, "I'm going to continue to fight right by your side. We're not starting new parties." Can I throw this question out there to you folks? Do you reckon he was trying for a while there to figure out how to get his own party together and realized he couldn't? Do you reckon maybe he just realized, oh, if we divvy up the Republican Party like he would probably have ended up having to do, you reckon he realized, oh shit, that would absolutely fuck both parties, and then he'd have no ground to stand on? Eyebrows on flick, thank you. I've actually just tweezed them recently. And you love the look tonight? Thank you, Chaotic. Get the fuck out of my face, exactly. I think I need to replace my my lipstick though. Because like it's come off with the coffee and everything, the water. This is really cheap black lipstick. It's not the best. I enjoy being is very good. True. It's a good way to be. I enjoy being. Trump dismissed reports. Oh, we've read that bit. During the speech, Trump read out the names of the Republican members of Congress who voted to impeach him or convict him of inciting the January 6th insurrection, urging Republican voters to get rid of them all. Again, America uncancelled. Elzaries, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. America uncancelled, right? And then he goes and says, urging Republican voters to get rid of them all. So he wants to go out of his way to what? To cancel the Republican members of Congress who impeached him? He gave a special shout out to Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who voted in favor of impeachment, describing her as the warmonger, a person who loves seeing our troops fighting. Describing his endorsement as the most powerful asset in politics, Trump said he would actively campaign to elect America First Republican conservatives to Congress. It was a no-win. The majority of them like him, but not enough to keep it viable versus the Dems, so it was totally calculated. Yeah, true. I used to skate. I haven't done it for a while, and that board is purely for display. My actual skateboard's behind the mirror. Make a pretty good black lipstick with good lip balm and activated charcoal powder. There's an idea. Alright, we'll wrap this up and then we'll take a break. We're talking about Trump for the moment, Fox, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do communism. We're going to do actual communism. We're going to do a communism. A poll of attendees at the conference found that 55% said Trump was their preferred Republican candidate for the 2024 presidential election, ahead of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on 21%. Trump said the early weeks of the Biden administration had been a catastrophe for American workers and American families, hitting out at his successors' policies on immigration and energy policy. He said that America was heading from energy dominance to energy disaster under Biden, and that massive numbers of illegal immigrants were already attempting to cross the border with Mexico. Yeah, we're down for a communism. We're gonna do a communism. Yeah, we're gonna take a break in about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna do some communism, comrades. While much of his speech focused on familiar themes from his past presidential campaigns, Trump introduced a new issue by focusing While much of his speech focused on familiar themes from his past presidential campaigns, Trump introduced a new issue by focusing on the issue of trans female athletes competing in women's sport. I think it's crazy, Trump said of sports records being broken by trans women athletes. We must protect the integrity of women's sports. Does he have any, do they have any stats for records being broken by trans women athletes? Why do they always say records are being broken and then they never provide us with the records? Lovely to how the US is completely ignoring the mass genocide happening on China. Oh yeah. Talk about the US Nosy Army being in the Southeast Asian Sea. I'll have to have a look. Do you feel like any of the other navies in the area are an effective deterrent to a militarized and aggressive Chinese fleet? I don't know enough about naval warfare to comment. Anyway. Women's sports. Fucking hell, dude. He's gonna bring the turfs from the UK. He's gonna expand Turf Island to America. With that kind of rhetoric. American trans folks, please protect yourselves. Please arm yourselves. American trans friends, arm yourselves. Be ready. Because I guarantee you, there's already transphobia in America, duh. But if it gets to the level of the UK's transphobia, arm yourselves. Not even kidding. I am absolutely terrified of that UK level of transphobia hitting Australia. Australians are honestly notoriously violent people. I'd be terrified of being clocked in public and having someone come over and try to king hit me. Like, yeah. Want to see the strong mummy Ronda Rousey beat up a conservative in a video game? Yeah, exactly. If you're an American trans person, grab a gun to defend yourself, because it's fucking scary out there. Guns ain't a good thing. No, they're not. But if you're in the options are either have a gun to protect yourself from some transphobe who may try to assault you, or worse, or don't have a gun in a situation where the opponent may have a gun, have a gun. This is the paradox that America faces. It's like, if you want to stop gun violence, you'd have to make sure nobody has a gun in the first place. Baseball bat or metal pole, but what if they have a gun? Firearm. Yeah, grab a bazooka. Yeah, there's more guns than people in America. It's fucking disturbing. Join the Socialist Rifle Association. If I were to get a gun for self-defense, what would I pick? Small pistol. Something light, something easy to aim, something easy to keep my grip on, and something that I can shoot straight for the head. You know, I don't want a lot of kickback. There's a lot of firearms. They're firearms. This, and also, a point to make. Come here, you cunt. This, friends, is not a gun. Nerf toys are called blasters. For the record. Just so we're clear. This is a blaster. It's a Nerf blaster. Not a gun. I hate when people call them Nerf guns. It's a toy. No, I'm not pulling out a real firearm. I don't have one. I wish I did. That'd be fun. But I live in Australia, so I can't. At any rate, it's 10:30. Like in Star Wars. Exactly, Connor. Anyway, we'll take a quick break. 5 minutes. I'm going to turn my aircon back on. I'm fucking dripping, dude. I look like Vorsh right now. I'm sweating like crazy. Why is he so sweaty? Anyway. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away, folks. The cost of that belch is 5 subs. It's $5 a month. Or $9 if you're Australian. Help me hit my daily sub goal. Communism is a better alternative than fascism. How's it going, folks? Oh my god, this top is too big. I need to get this taken in. This is too big. Oh my god. How's it going, folks? I bought this because it was cute. I didn't anticipate the fact that I'm so small. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be snug around my chest. And like at the back there. And it's not, it's like slipping off me. It's a bit flirty. Hey there. You like my bralette? Isn't it weird, right? Isn't it bizarre? You know, prior to coming out, I don't know how to sew. I mean, I could probably learn, but no, I don't. Isn't it weird how prior to coming out, I would have been totally fine to appear shirtless on stream? Totally fine. And now that I'm out, you know, there's not a whole lot exactly changed in that area, if we're being completely honest. But because now I am feminine, these are off limits. They're just nipples. Now it's against the rule. It's like oddly backwards, progressive, and regressive. Hello, Grand Duke. How you doing? I could use safety pins, much to our dismay. I can't flash the stream, sadly. Also, sadly, I don't really have anything there to show off anyway. If I did, I'd be wearing something low cut with cleavage. You know I'd be all over that shit. Anyway, it's kind of weird. It's like on the one hand, it's like, oh yeah, we completely support you transitioning, but the moment you do transition, you are, what is it? You are, parts of you are now outlawed on the internet. It's a bit stupid. Female presenting nipples too lewd. Despite the fact that I have seen footage of men on Twitch who've got full-blown breasts. And they're just shirtless as all hell. I've seen the footage. I have seen it. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yet violence is totes chill. Yeah, we know what's up. Old Greek god X, yeah. Yeah, and others. There's others. Who was that, what was that couple? There's that couple on here somewhere. Who have a really toxic relationship. What's their, what was their name? This really toxic couple. And he appeared on stream shirtless. Completely shirtless. You know, he's got a beer gut and he's got not exactly not man titties. Imagine nipples. I don't want to. They're terrifying. Seen a Twitch stream where a woman belly dances for subs. I mean, that's something. I couldn't belly dance for subs. I don't know how to belly dance. I can't imagine like imagine if you're like sitting there playing video games though and you're constantly getting bombarded for subs all the time. How much belly dancing would you have to do? Goodness gracious me. Alright, let's talk communism. Let's talk communism. What do we know about communism? What do you know about blah 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 blah. What do you know about communism? Can we get some like can we get some cliff notes in the chat? How do we discuss this? What I'd like to know. How do we discuss communism? Dabbing on the capitalists. What specifically do we want to talk about? Is the question, because somebody brought this up that I should do a stream about communism. So now we're on the topic. Kronstadt. Let me Google that because I feel like I should know what that means.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Welcome to the Rogue Room. Travis the guinea pig. Sit down, grab a drink, chill out with us. Distribution of labor. That's good. How did I get your mum to help you? Somehow you got stuck with a lint roller in your hair. Oh no. Ah, the Kronstadt Rebellion.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Have you... That's definitely a username. Welcome in. From each according to their ability to each according to their need. Trotsky. Trotsky had the anarchists slaughtered. Where was the... I was going to look at a particular thing. Was it this one? Principles of Communism? Yeah. Well, I mean, we could read this. If we want to go through this. The Principles of Communism by Friedrich Engels. Hopping in from the demo sock of Canada. From the frozen, desolate wasteland. Wouldn't Antarctica be the frozen, desolate wasteland? Antarctica technically counts as a desert. Why shouldn't we settle with capitalism? I mean, capitalism is not without its flaws either. There's a lot of flaws under capitalism. I mean, we were talking about the homelessness situation before. However, I'm not necessarily advocating communism necessarily. I just said necessarily twice. Frozen, desolate wasteland light. Just the Arctic without bears. Wait, there's no bears in the Antarctic? One of the 2 driest places on Earth for that reason. Mutual aid. Like, I'm in favor of socialism. Socialism sounds good. Communism is rad. Centrism is dummy. Capitalism bad. Capitalism explicitly exists in such a way that it needs there to be an underclass for it to function. Which is why capitalism flaws stream. Yeah, we're gonna have to do the research. Yeah, I suppose that's technically most nights. We could do a full-blown breakdown of the flaws of capitalism. Your food tech teacher is a sweetie. She got a pan out and all they used toffee in it and told you to put it in the fridge and pick it up after school. Had a lot of sugar and still have a lot of toffee. Arctic is with bears. Antarctic is without bears. Democratic socialism. Democratic socialism. So, I mean, if we could go through Friedrich Engels' The Principles of Communism, which is like basically 25 questions that like he asks the question and answers it. Like, what is communism? Communism is the doctrine of the conditions of the liberation of the proletariat. What is the proletariat? The proletariat is that class in society which lives entirely from the sale of its labor and does not draw profit from any kind of capital, whose weal and woe, whose life and death, whose sole existence depends on the demand for labor, hence, on the changing state of business, on the vagaries of unbridled competition. The proletariat, or the class of proletarians, is, in a word, the working class of the 19th century. Would we argue, he's specifically referring to the 19th century, would we argue that we do still have a proletariat in this day and age? Because he's referring to specifically workers in factories, in industry. I feel like class structure nowadays is perhaps a tad more complex than is given here. Some communism falls under socialism. Well, true. Yes, true. Yeah, I got my black lippy on. This is not a dress, it's a top. It's a top. Hello, Catalina. Top and shorts. And it's too big. Too big. Too freaking massive. There was, however, in the shop immediately adjacent this one, a really cute white dress that I wanted to get, but it was $89 fucking dollars. If I get some extra cash in soon, I'm gonna go back to that place and try to get that dress, because, oh my god. It was good. Leg. You can just look at my legs on my Twitter. Communism is the end goal, but it's never really been achieved. That's kind of the issue that we face. Is that, like, there have been communist societies, but the problem is, of course, you know, there is communism to a point. I like this YouTube channel. Very informative. Is this a Rickroll? No. Theremin trees. I don't know why I read T. Blah, blah, blah. This is half an hour of video here, but I might look at this. An exploration of the increasing trend of individuals misusing therapeutic self-affirmation language for abusive ends. Interesting. I'll give them a subscribe and I'll look at their content a little bit later on. I've got to go through my watch later list and actually see what's in there. Oh my god. Yet another one of these fucking people, dude. I just got there's a comment on my latest YouTube video. You will never be a woman, and you will never be relevant to anything. Cool Circle 69420 Anal V2. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Goodness gracious me, what is that nonsense? Get lost. Communism on paper, but not in practice. That's generally what gets thrown around. Yeah. Also made you go show off to the other teacher and food tech class with what your group made and you made today. We also experimented with the toffee, made like little cake toppers. That sounds good. It is very summer picnic vibes, isn't it? Really don't want to spec too hard. speculate. But you see Canada is pretty socialist. You have a lung disease and get procs twice a year. I mean, here's the thing: is like we can live in a capitalist society like Australia, for example. Australia is capitalist, but our Medicare system is fairly socialist. Our medical system is fairly socialist, right? So I think Medicare depends on your income. You get a certain amount. Oh, you know what? I fucking forgot. Hold on a second. Put my aircon on. So, like, we have socialized medicine, but we don't have. There are other socialized issues that are not present. So there's still an underclass. There's still excess homelessness. Not that that's necessarily, like, homelessness is not necessarily a primary factor. You can still have homeless people in a socialist society. Ideally not. Arguably, you know, the utopian idea of a socialist society would have everyone in their place, you know. When I say everyone in their place, I mean, like, everybody would have a place in society where they feel comfortable, right? What is wrong with you people tonight? Jesus Christ. Please get some help. You folks who are coming in here just to hate, please get some help. You're not doing okay. I can tell you're not doing okay. Get some help. Alright? Shall we read a little... Star Trek. Yeah, honestly. Should we read a little bit about the Communist Manifesto? Because I did read the Communist Manifesto, but I don't want to go through the entire thing. It's very short, mind you. It's like 40 pages long. However, I don't want to go through the entire thing. One channel you watch is also run by MTF, as a nonsense command that tells us how long we've gone without cis nonsense and how many are banned. That's awesome. Communist Manifesto reflects an attempt to explain the goals of communism as well as the theory underlying this movement. Welcome to the Rogue Room, no rain. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. It argues that class struggles or the exploitation of one class by another are the motivating force behind all historical developments. Class relationships are defined by an era's means of production. However, eventually these relationships cease to be compatible with the developing forces of production. At this point, a revolution occurs and a new class emerges as the ruling one. This process represents the march of history as driven by larger economic forces. I need to get cat girl ears. I don't have the cat ears yet. We have more than enough houses for everyone. If they weren't privately owned, homelessness could easily be fixed. And that is kind of a major point to bring up that we did talk about before. Like, Australia used to have socialized housing units. There were a lot of socialized housing units in Australia, and at some point, actually, let me look it up. There was actually a specific, there is still some social housing, but there was a significant chunk of social housing in Australia that at some point went private and no longer were, you know, actual people allowed to be housed there. It was done up, gentrified, and then sold on to the highest bidder. So people who previously relied on that housing situation to actually have a roof over their heads were kicked out to fend for themselves. There's a huge issue in Western society. Fascism manifesto is like 20 short-ass pages. Is there actually a manifesto on... like... The Communist Manifesto is written from the perspective of communists. Is the Fascism Manifesto written from the perspective of fascists, or is it written as a criticism of fascism? Or are you fucking with me? Wait. Modern industrial society is specific and characterized... No, inspecific is characterized. I did that wrong. Or doctrine or whatever, written by Mussolini. Oh, that'd be interesting. The Communist Manifesto is written by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Yeah. However, I guess the Fascist Manifesto is written by Mussolini. There you go.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Nico, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink. Chat with us. So many chuds today. I'm just like enjoying teasing this one, who's trying so desperately.
Thank you for your membership.
Oh my goodness, Nico.
Please, enjoy all the delights of the subscriber lounge.
Join us in the subscriber lounge. I guess we'll do the sub lounge thing. We'll chill out for a second. We'll talk about communism in a minute. Chuds. Can we get some chuds in the chat? You pride yourself on so far on not having a message deleted. Prime sub, Prime sub. Can we get some Prime subs in the chat? We got one. We got one. If you've got Twitch Prime, do you know if you have Amazon Prime or Prime Gaming, you have Prime Gaming, you get 1 free sub a month. And the reason you should use it on me is because that will make you an honorary official comrade and a member of Antifa. It's a 2-for-1 deal. Oh, also you get like emotes and ad-free viewing or whatever, who fucking cares. But there's a few little benefits there. Want to be comrade? You can be comrade for just the price of 1 Prime Gaming, Amazon Prime, Twitch Prime sub. I mean, here's the thing about Antifa, right? It's like, what counts as Antifa? I'm anti-fascist, which is what Antifa stands for. Fuck fascism. That should be obvious. You know, like, fascism is... I mean, not fascism. Antifa is not an organization. You watch The Leader, an anime about Karl Marx. Is there really? Hang on. I can't type. Seriously? Chinese animated web series based on the life of Karl Marx. That's incredible! Commissioned by the Communist Party of China's Marxism Office. China has a Marxism office!
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Walada! Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Yeah, it's weird that Antifa could be used as an insult. It's like, you know what the FA stands for. You realize that fascism bad. Fascism is explicitly a very, very bad thing for everyone. And yeah, Antifa is an ideology. It's not a political position. It is an ideology. It's like, we don't like fascists. Yeah, communism and socialism are ideas as well, like ideologies as well. What would be a political position, for example? So if we, like, capitalism is an ideology. It's a political ideology. Communism is a political ideology. Socialism is a political ideology. But a political position would be either being pro-choice or pro-life, for example. Yeah, Antifa is an ideology, not a group. Whoa, chat just like flashed as though it had been refreshed or whatever. Chaplain, I cannot read that, sorry. I mean, I can read it, but it's not English, so... Let's dismantle idiots. German working overdrive right now. Got some chuds. Can we get some chuds in chat? Maybe I shouldn't have said that. That's kind of spurred them on. Some good things that are used as insults. Exactly. Let it go. Antifa, commies, anarchist. It's like, yeah, those are good things. Why Mondays? Am I about to have a small chat, or are you about to accost me for a small chat, German? The most interesting thing about from the factism... The most interesting thing from the fascism doctrine was the concept that all conflicts or problems are at their root just a lesser version of the ultimate conflict, which is life or death. Being able to succeed in that conflict makes lesser conflicts easier. Let's get some chuds in chat. I cursed myself! We said it and now there are chuds in chat. Hello Richie, how you doing, lovely? How's it going? I actually jinxed myself. We got the chuds. Socialism and communism don't have flaws. People who have larped those ideologies appropriated revolution and liberation to restructure their empires and keep a hold on their power, wealth, and privilege. I mean, you're probably not wrong, but the issue is that I have not done enough research on socialist and communist nations to be able to verifiably agree. That's the main issue I have, is that, like, I've done research on socialism and communism as broad concepts, but I haven't really looked into too much. You know, I know, for example, what country was it? There was a country... You know what? Can we watch a video? Can we watch a video about something socialist? You want to watch a video about something about socialism? Who among you is subscribed to the Gravel Institute? Who among you is subscribed to the Gravel Institute? Because there was a good video, how socialists solved the housing crisis. Let's watch this one. And I really liked this video. This gives me a good glimpse into like one of the issues that I am particularly... I need to know more about it. I love this particular topic, the idea of socialized housing. Thank you, Magic. The flaw is someone has to be in power to divide everything equally, which is what Marx and Engels kind of write about, is they write about this concept that eventually the proletarian class is going to institute a revolution which will overthrow the existing establishment, but then you've got a new establishment, and what's the new establishment going to do?
American housing is in crisis. Right now, up to 12 million Americans are behind an average of $5,800 on rent and risk eviction.
Jesus Christ, that's ridiculous. An average of $5,800. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Eviction moratorium soon to expire, we're facing an unprecedented wave of evictions and foreclosures that will crash straight into millions of struggling families across the country. But the truth is, this crisis didn't begin with the pandemic. In fact, housing has been in crisis for a very long time.
Yeah, Gravel Institute.
Even before the pandemic.
They're basically the anti-PragerU. They're the left-wing PragerU, except they actually have valid viewpoints.
In places like New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco, median rents for even one-bedroom apartments could approach $2,500 a month.
That's ridiculous. $2,500 a month.
Or more.
Yeah, research and
About a third
ethics.
of people in Los Angeles spend a majority of their income on housing.
Martin,
In New
don't
York
test
City,
people to
about
check Discord.
20% of all renters
They'll do it in their
pay
own
most
time.
of their income to their landlord. And in my district, Astoria, about a quarter of residents have to spend most of their paycheck on rent. And the crisis isn't just in big cities. In 95% of all U.S. counties, workers making the minimum don't make enough to afford a one-bedroom rental on their own. The
Minimum wage discourse.
Harvard Center for Housing Studies warns of a new normal for housing in the United States, in which nearly half of all renter households spend almost a third of their income on rent.
I think I spend about more than a third of my usual income on rent. More than a third. I think, if I'm not mistaken. I am on a disability allowance though. Disability pension.
That's why even before the fallout from the coronavirus started to hit, more than 500,000 Americans nationwide were already homeless, millions more on the brink of losing their housing, and countless families struggling every month to make ends meet. At the root of all of this suffering is the fact that in this country, housing is treated as a commodity, not a right. It's a consumer product.
This is exactly something that I would change, were I to have any sort of political power, which I do not. Housing should be a right. Having a roof over your head should be a human right. I don't know why it's not. It's kind of insanely baffling to me that having a roof over your head is not considered a human right. Insane. Rent is almost exactly 50% of your income. Rent will be 100% for you. Why? And food? Well, let me think. Shelter, food, education, healthcare, water, obviously. And shelter, food, water, healthcare, education, and electricity. Honestly, throw that in there. That should be and honestly, internet. Given the world that we live in today, those 7 things need to be essential.
Just like clothes or cars that private businesses can sell on the market to make a profit. And if someone isn't able to pay, either because their landlord raised their rent...
If we're expected, if a capitalistic society expects us to drive to work all the time, and quite frankly, there's a lot of bad situations with the transportation industry in general. There's a lot of issues with like a lack of public transportation in areas that desperately need it. I forget where it exactly was that was shown on Twitter today. Somebody posted a picture of a massive, it looked like a 20-lane highway. And it was like, oh, we'll just add another lane. That'll fix our problem with commuting or whatever. And obviously it hasn't fixed that problem. So you need to wipe that whole highway out and institute public transportation situations. And yeah, fuel should be covered. If we're expected to commute to places, fuel should be covered.
Or because they can't work for one reason or another, they're not able to stay in their homes. If they're lucky, they can live with friends or family, or maybe in transitional housing for a bit. But for a lot of people, they have nowhere else to go, and they end up sleeping on the streets. In December 2019, the number of people sleeping in homeless shelters in New York reached 19,000 people, an all-time high. 100,000 New York City students.
Then the government needs to get more funding from somewhere else. That's what he's going to talk about. He's going to talk about socialized ideas, quite frankly. Or in lieu of fuel, then free, frequent grid of public... Yes, exactly. Yes.
Students are homeless. That's more than 10% of the
Agreed,
entire
Del.
student population. Why do so many people end up homeless?
Right here, Broken.
It's not because there aren't enough homes to go around. There are plenty of empty homes. No. It's because housing people is not the primary goal of developers or landlords. Their goal, simply put, is to make a profit. And it's much more profitable to build luxury apartments for the rich than decent homes for the poor. This gives us a big shortage of homes for ordinary working people. For every
This is exactly what I was talking about before, by the way.
100 households that are extremely low income, there are only 36 affordable and available homes. As a result, we have plenty of housing for the rich, but poor and working class people don't have nearly enough on the market. So we have people scrounging to make ends meet or sleeping on the streets right below luxury condos and uninhabited apartments. This is a terrible way to organize a housing market. It might be profitable for landlords and developers, but it's not efficient or beneficial for the rest of society. In fact, housing doesn't have to be seen as a market at all. In other countries, housing is considered a fundamental right, like education
There we
or
go.
healthcare. That means the government goes to significant lengths to guarantee everyone has a home, and the market plays a much smaller role in the construction and distribution of housing.
Man, that reminds me of the guy who recently was talking about something on national television in America. I forget exactly what he was talking about, but he mentioned he was trying to say something this country, and he goes something this company. And he stumbled over his words and corrected himself. It's like, we have a serious problem in this country. It's like, oh fuck, the capitalist slipped up. This is the difference between democratic socialism and communism. Affording to cover all these issues when capital isn't a thing, and you're entitled to a fair share of the profit your labor generates. Hang on. Affording to cover all these issues when you're entitled to isn't a problem. In local words, the US is called America Sierra Cat, meaning American company if you literally translate it. It would make sense. There's an addendum lower. Oh, okay, I see, I get you now. You live in social house care here in the UK. Technically, it's owned by a private housing association and run on behalf of the local council.
So let's hop across the pond and about 100 years back in time to take a look at just one example of how an alternative housing model got started in beautiful red Vienna. At the end of the First
Austria,
World
that's what
War,
I was thinking
the
of.
Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed, leaving behind a number of successor states, including modern-day Austria, home to the former imperial capital of Vienna, the 5th largest city in the world. Despite being the seat of an empire, the chaos of the war and decades of neglect had left the working class of Vienna in desperate circumstances. Inflation was rampant, jobs were scarce, social services were non-existent, and hundreds of thousands of people were crammed into decaying tenements where overcrowding, disease, and violence were rampant. So it's no surprise that in 1919, at the first elections ever held in Austria where all adult citizens could vote, the Social Democratic Party swept into power at the municipal level on the promise of dramatic social and economic reform. And they delivered. The new government of Vienna implemented a huge range of services, including public health care and public child care. They built high-quality hospitals, schools, and recreational facilities. But their crowning achievement was an ambitious program of social housing, what Americans call public housing, that began in 1923 and saw 60,000 new apartments constructed in the first year of its existence, built by the government and
Karl Marxhof, constructed in 1930. Yeah, it's like literally... It's literally right there. I'm in the way, sorry. This is what he's about to talk about. In the UK, developers have been forced to provide affordable homes amongst the luxury parents they've built, which has led to poor doors, so the residents are segregated. That doesn't shock me. You like Before Sunrise? What's Before Sunrise? Anytime you hear Vienna, you think of the song by Ultravox. Is that what we're thinking of?
financed by taxes on the rich. But these weren't the kinds of apartments you might picture when you think of public housing in the United States. Drab high-rises plagued by chronic neglect and underinvestment. Residents could enjoy leafy courtyards, wide open spaces, and plenty of natural light. They had shared laundries, state-of-the-art kitchens, food co-ops, bathhouses, pharmacies, lecture halls, schools, and swimming pools. These apartments were designed to be both beautiful to look at and beautiful to live in, fostering a sense of shared community among the people who lived there. And the best part was that because the city didn't have to worry about making a profit, just about paying off their maintenance costs, these homes were both much nicer and much cheaper than what workers had previously known. In 1920,
that would be poggers. Can we get some like luxury estates for the poor, please? Incredible challenges to overcome because of the infinite growth paradigm. People use children as health insurance policy due to poor care for the elderly. Yeah. I mean, again, tax the rich even more.
26, the average rent in Viennese social housing was about just 4% of a monthly wage.
This just represents how bad the capitalistic system really is. You know, you've got, like, who mentioned, was it you, Del, that mentioned Jeff Bezos? For what fucking reason does he need that much money? As the wealth disparity grows bigger and bigger, you've got people who are living in more and more destitute situations, more and more homeless people, all the time. People dying in the streets of Texas as it freezes over. Like, it's ridiculous that it's even like something like Amazon is allowed to continue to function in such a way that it absolutely, honestly strips other people, strips low-income people of their place in the world, really.
The first 15 years after Austrian independence saw its capital transform from a symbol
It takes a lot of money to steal public land and crush unions.
Of urban blight into a beacon of socialist governance. It became known as Red Vienna, after the official color of the socialists who had pioneered these changes. And even though Red Vienna fell in 1934 when the country was seized by fascists, who did what they could to roll
fucking fascists
back social housing, that commitment to good, cheap housing remained after the Second World War. Today, an astonishing 62% of all city residents live in social housing, with the average monthly rent falling somewhere between $400 and $600 a month.
That is less than what and he's talking $400 to $600. Oh, I suppose he's talking like as a conversion to American dollars, if I'm not mistaken. Let me think. I pay about $1,100 Australian a month.
Subsidies for lower income tenants. That is a fraction of what people in America pay. Unlike in the United States, where public housing is treated as a worst-case way to house the very poor, Vienna's social housing residents are extremely diverse. Everyone except the top fifth of the population is eligible to live in social housing. This means there's broad appeal across many segments of society, which creates the foundation for its political popularity. That is how the majority of people in Vienna enjoy something that's considered almost utopian here in New York.
Fuck it, I'm moving to Vienna. Who's buying a ticket? Let's buy some tickets. Let's move to Vienna. Fuck it.
Housing that isn't just cheap, but desirable. Housing that isn't just four walls and a roof, but a real home with a sense of stability, safety, and community built in. Now, of course, this is only one example of an alternative framework for housing, and Vienna has not fully removed housing from the domain of the market. Residents still pay part of their earnings in rent to cover operational costs,
Thanks for the
and a
hydration.
sizable chunk of the population lives in private housing. But it's an actually existing alternative that shows us what a step toward a better world could look like. If we want to end the housing crisis,
bring some
the
snacks.
solution has to be moving toward the full decommodification of housing.
Fuck yes.
In other words, moving away from the status quo, in which most people access housing by purchasing it on the market, and toward a future where we guarantee high-quality housing to all as a human right. So how can we do it? We can start by making sure people who access housing on the private market have ironclad protections against abuse and exploitation. But to go further, toward the Vienna model, we'll have to go beyond the market. We can establish community land trusts to gradually buy up housing on the private market and convert it to community ownership. We can give tenants a right of first refusal to buy out their landlords when buildings go up for sale. And we can fully commit to a new era of social housing, ending subsidies for luxury housing development and using our wealth to build beautiful, high-quality social housing projects that offer good homes and strong communities to everyone. We won't decommodify housing overnight, but we know what we have to do, and we have history to guide us. And we know how we'll get there, through a movement of the multiracial working class organizing for the better world we know is possible.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
And we've already begun. I'm Zohran Mamdani, Assemblyman for New York's 36th Assembly District in Astoria, Queens, for the Gravel Institute.
Landlord's bad. Have I watched the Philosophy Tube Housing Crisis video? No, I have not. Is it one? This is a weird thing for me. Is this one of her older videos? By the way, welcome new follower, but I don't really like. Yeah, there we go. I saw that coming. You can just immediately. Oh no, I can't ban that person. Okay, that's my bot. I can't ban my bot. Anyway, you'll bring theater. You're otherwise unskilled. Bring like finger puppet. Please don't evict me, human rights controlling daddy. Yeah, like, quite frankly, you're absolutely right there, Del. Landlords literally do nothing except take money they don't deserve. Landlords have no right to exist. Chop chop. Cut off all their heads. End landlords. They technically own the property and they have no reason to. They have no... have bot ban, bot break internet. They have no reason to own more than their own house. They have no reason to own more than their own house. Quite frankly. The fuck is a job with Lord in the title doing in 2021 anyway? Imagine if everyone with your job died and the world got better. It would. The world would get better if all the landlords got... I'm in favor of committing genocide upon one social group at the very least, and that is landlords. We can commit genocide on landlords. It's the only genocide I'd advocate. I'm giggling, I'm chuckling, because it's lighthearted and carefree, and it looks like I'm joking. Chop chop. Landlords. Anyway. Twitch, this is satire. This is a joke, Twitch. Execute landlord. Execute landlords. Anti-fascist cat girls can have a little genocide as a treat. There's a lot of landlords out there that lend out part of their house though. True, true. Except Airbnb under capitalism, because at least they're not taking money from the poor. Technically true, yeah. Technically true. In Toronto, one of the First Nations recently won a court case giving them back a large patch of land, and their immediate plan is to build a low-cost, high-density community housing located right in the middle of one of Toronto's most high-cost housing areas. Is that a good thing? That sounds like a good thing. I'm assuming... Yeah, that sounds like a good thing. Yarrow!
Now one of us.
Thank you for gifting a sub to Catalina. You know, gifting subs is praxis, by the way. I think I know what praxis means. You know the first time I ever heard the word praxis? Was Deus Ex Human Revolution. I didn't know what praxis was prior to that. I still don't. Praxis is the process by which a theory, lesson, or skill is enacted, embodied, or realized. Praxis is a fancy way of saying practice. Praxis may also refer to the act of engaging, applying, exercising, realizing, or practicing ideas. I mean, yeah, Yarrow, you're not wrong, really. Honestly, yeah, kinda. Thank you so kindly for that gift sub. Yeah, it's how you upgrade your arm blades. Here's a question for you, folks. Let me think. Just give me a second. Okay, just give me a second here, alright? Alright. Quickly. Deus Ex, Mortal Kombat, Cyberpunk. What other examples do we have of arm blades in video games, really quickly? Does anyone know? I can't think of any. Those are the only three I can think of. Assassin's Creed. Alright, I think I wouldn't class Metal Gear Rising because that's just a katana. Here we go. I got one. Alright, here's a poll for you. Hang on a second. What's it called? Was it the Two Thrones? I think it was. Yeah, okay. Here we go. 2 minutes, not 5 minutes. Here's a poll for you. Best arm blades. This isn't related to communism at all, but I want to know what you think the best arm blades in video games are. For no good reason. Best arm blades in video games. Go. I put Prince of Persia The Two Thrones in there because he's got like a whipped, bladed razor chain thing that's really fucking cool, honestly. That's the only other one I can think of. Vote for your favorite arm blades in video games. Yeah, Adam Jensen is the one I picked. Because any game... Oh, there was the Wolverine game! Dude, did anyone actually play the X-Men Origins Wolverine video game? It was legit. No one's voting for Prince of Persia. Did anyone actually play it? It was way back in like 2008 when X-Men Origins Wolverine was out, I think. And they released a game that went along with it, and it was fucking sick. It was like a little God of War clone kind of thing. Prototype is good. I could have put Prototype in there. Alex Mercer was a fucking good arm blade character. Don't think you've ever purposefully used Jensen's arm blades. No, but they're cool. Prototype was sick. Unfortunately, though, like, honestly, do you folks remember the little internet civil war that rose up right around the time Prototype released? There was also a game called Infamous, which I love. I adore Infamous. And there was a little internet back and forth about which is the better superhero game. And honestly, Infamous wins on all counts. It's a tremendous video game for its time. Whereas by comparison, Prototype was good. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. But it was very clunky and arcadey. But Infamous was just... Oh my god. They need to remaster Infamous. Yahtzee Crochet made a video about it, yeah. Let's do the discussion about what's the best movie tie-in video game. What do you reckon? This is not going to be a poll. Let's throw this out there to the audience, and then we'll come back to communism. Honestly, yeah, I'm inclined to agree, Connor. What's probably X-Men Origins Wolverine? Like, yeah, all 3.5 Infamous games rule. Quite frankly, I love First Light. Infamous and Infamous 2 are great. The only issue I have with Infamous 2 is they changed Cole's voice actor. So he sounds much more like for some reason, like a California boy. Excuse me. What is the best movie tie-in video game? Hello, Ty. How you doing? So what's the best game to come from a movie? Ty, thank you for the host. I don't know about Oz, but here in the USA, there are more empty houses than homeless. Yes, true. And I think that is something of an issue here in Australia. I'd have to look up the stats specifically, but that is by design. And it is worth noting there is a factor of there are so many houses that are empty because people are constantly moving. So at any point, somebody could be moving from one house to another and there's an empty house that they're moving into, and arguably the house they're leaving is empty as well, which will then go on the market. But I don't know the proportion there. But yes, there are a lot of houses. There are entire skyscrapers in Australia, if I'm not mistaken, in Sydney and such, that are just empty buildings that are owned by businesses for them to put things in if they feel like it, but really they're just holding on to real estate for no good reason. Other than to have that property, to own that property. Do you count a Star Wars game that's based on a particular movie? Yeah, that would count. Spider-Man 2 was supposed to be really good. Most are really bad. Yeah, most tie-in games are pretty bad. Generally speaking. Judge Dredd for Sega/SNES is good. I haven't played that one. I honestly got into gaming. Well, I was playing games since MS-DOS on my PC, but I didn't have a console until PS1, so I missed all like the Sega and early Nintendo stuff. I stuck with PlayStation until about Xbox 360, and then I think my first ever Nintendo console would have been a DS. Theoretical real estate that's not in use should be taxed out of the arse. It absolutely should. Lord of the Rings games are great. I heard they were good. I heard they were good. I'm so random, I am pretty random. Well, no, I'm pretty straightforward, actually. In most Western countries, they're empty houses. In those that are completely empty, not in flux, outnumbers the number of homeless. Well, there you go. There you go. I don't know about the Harry Potter games. Honestly, I do recall playing one of the Harry Potter games. I think it might have been the one about the Philosopher's Stone. Like the very first Harry Potter game. And I think I enjoyed that a fair amount. You know, back when I didn't realize just how bad the creator of the series was. Shadow of Mordor / War are highly rated. They're interesting because they are based on Lord of the Rings, but they're not really Lord of the Rings games. They are Middle-earth games, but they're not based on like the movies or anything like that. They're just Middle-earth themed. As far as I know, they're non-canon games as well. I mean, as you would expect, given that they are not written by J.R.R. Tolkien. But, you know, in terms of like a big, broader canon or whatever that might include movies or whatever.
I see
Calgar!
Guests.
Rating with
Welcome,
party of 6.
friend.
Hello, Dan. Hello, Calgar. Hello, friends. How's it going? Hello, Amy. How's folks going? Also, incredible compared to the Lord of the Rings games. Well, there you go. Had the whole scandal with MPs having second homes too. So in some cases, UK taxpayers were paying the mortgage for an MP's second home. That is fucking corruption. That is corruption. Hello, Alaronan. How you going? Lamb's first edition Silmarillion under my... under death. Is there some bullshit in there? In the Silmarillion about, like, multiple universes crossing over? That might technically make Shadow of Mordor canon? Judge Dredd is interesting to read. I've heard that. Half the time he's good, half the time he's bad. I've heard that's the case. And also what's interesting is, like, since Judge Dredd has been a thing, he has been consistently aging along with the years. Like, he's not just a static character that never ages. He actually grows older as time goes on. You know, which is an interesting storytelling device. Something wrong with Hatsune Miku, the creator of Harry Potter. So how was your stream, Calgar? What'd you get up to? And it's alright, the hangover's mostly gone now. He's almost 70 now, Jesus. Might be long and technical to read on stream, but this is a good essay on housing. Okay. A good idea. What do we got here? We're all familiar with right NIMBYs, conservatives who block transit and housing development in order to keep poor people and minorities out of their quiet, white flight suburban neighborhoods. These are still the most common kind, given that Republicans tend to value low-density communities while Republicans tend to value low-density communities, while Democrats tend to value denser, more walkable places. But liberals can be NIMBYs as well, as any resident of a deep blue state or city well knows. Oh god, this is... Holy heck. There's a lot in here. There's a lot in here. We could look into this. We could save this for tomorrow. Toy Story 2 on PS1. I don't think I ever played any of the Toy Story games. We'll save this link. Let me slap that in my document, because my document's just a mess at the moment of like notes for later. But yeah, that looks like a good read. We'll give that a look for sure. At the very least, I'll read it and I'll take some cliff notes. We've been talking communism tonight, a little bit at least. Sort of. We got into socialized housing. We got into talking about socialized housing, and but how is Valheim? How do you like Valheim? Valheim. I've seen a few people playing it. It looks alright. I might give it a crack at some point. Some UK MP claimed like basically Australian $72,000 on Office stationery. What the fuck? Hello, Vanna. How's it going? Honestly, on the subject of property, let's read the next paragraph of this summary of the Communist Manifesto. Modern industrial society is specific is characterized by class conflict between the bourgeoisie, which is the ruling wealthy class that owns property, and the proletariat, which is the working class. However, the productive forces of capitalism are quickly ceasing to be compatible with this exploitative relationship. Thus, the proletariat will lead a revolution. However, this revolution will be of a different character than all previous ones. Previous revolutions simply reallocated property in favor of the new ruling class. However, by the nature of their class, the members of the proletariat have no way of appropriating property. Therefore, when they obtain control, they will have to destroy all ownership of private property, and classes themselves will disappear, which obviously has not happened. Marx, your revolution didn't happen, you dickhead. With your stupid beard. Reading why Marx was right and you want to recommend it to all your comrades. Good idea. I mean, I do agree with Marxist ideology. I do agree with the things he says. Actually, to just take a look at that book, you need to get it rebound restored. Amazing in the text, all the text is intact. Don't think Marx had a time frame in mind. What a fucking asshole. He's just let capitalism take over. Of all the MP's expensive scandals totaling millions of pounds of wrongly claimed money, a mere tens of thousands was for... I hate that shit, dude. This is why I'm nihilistic. This is why I'm emotionally exhausted. Type exclamation mark rogue in chat if you want to know a little bit about me. Cycloid. My pronouns are she, her. The revolution did come about in a few countries. The idea that Marx and Engels wrote about was that the communist revolution would have to be a worldwide revolution to be effective, basically. Given the far reaches of capitalism. Given the far reaches of capitalism on a worldwide scale, it would require that a communist revolution would need to be a worldwide thing too. Problem Marx can think of people like owning stuff. Owning stuff or owing stuff? I don't think anyone likes owing stuff. Worthwhile read, you think, to understand the Marxist perspective, but you think the author is economically illiterate and doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Always preferred absurdism. Preferred absurdism. Absurdism. The absurd refers to the conflict between the human tendency to seek inherent value and meaning in life and the human inability to find any in a purposeless, meaningless, or chaotic and irrational universe. The universe and the human mind do not each separately cause the absurd, but rather the absurd arises by the contradictory nature of the two existing simultaneously. True, private property does not equal personal property. There's a difference there. Like, private property refers more specifically to the idea of owning the means of production, owning... Like, if we come back to the landlord thing, owning mass amounts of real estate, or owning factories that produce consumer wares, owning Jeff Bezos, owning billions upon billions of dollars of fucking everything. You know, that's what, when we say private property, that's what we mean. When we talk about personal property, we talk about this cool letter opener that I've got. I've got this cool letter opener that is a knife. It's like it's kind of like a magical sword. And it's a letter opener. And it's really sharp. You could stab somebody with that and actually cause damage. Like, even just poking there, I'm worried I'm going to slip and slice my hand open. That's a sharp letter opener. That's my personal property. But private property, the bot picked up, there are not only two genders. The bot picked up only two genders. I'm sorry, Shay. That's not your fault. It needs to be a master sword. That'd be cool. Honestly, I'm kind of tempted. Let's have a look really quickly. You're allowed to own a toothbrush. Some people forget that. Let's look up letter openers. Can we look at letter openers, dude? What's on Etsy? There's some good letter openers on Etsy. Well, these are all boring. There's a Wonder Woman sword. It's a katana. Need it. I'm such a weeb for katanas. Oh my goodness. China still calls themselves communists. They're like a punk band of white, cis, hetero multimillionaires with children in expensive fee-paying schools who still think they're against the establishment, but they are the establishment. You're not wrong. When your letter needs to commit seppuku. I might get that, dude. That's kind of sick. It's also good. They've also managed what they've done here. Look at this creativity. They've got a little samurai. I don't think it's supposed to be a letter opener. They've got a little samurai. But it's listed in the letter opener section. Tiny gun to open envelopes. Everyone is a weeb for katanas. Take me back to katana days. Anyway, I'm getting distracted by letter openers.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
There's some really cool ones in here. Welcome to the Rogue Room. New music inferno. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. I'm honestly contemplating something, friends. Because someone mentioned a good point that I may consider about the fact that some people like to follow kind of subtly, to lurk, and don't like to get called out like that. I am considering maybe muting my follow alert and just turning it into, like, I think Detune has the follow alerts on a separate alert box so that it flashes up on the screen but it doesn't draw attention to you. Considering that, honestly. It's an interesting idea. Essentially, since a Yuchi run in Souls, I should do another Yuchi run. Love the accent, thank you. No, that's a katana gif. The long tradition of gay men and lesbian women using the opposite pronouns to their gender. Is there now? There you go. You like what I say? You know, I mean, when I'm reading your messages.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
And here we go again, like Barnes, Emma, I should say Emma. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, chill out with us. How you doing? How's it hanging? Yeah, you are right there, Amy. It's like China does still call themselves communist, but are they communist in the strict sense of the word? Probably not really. I would need to know more about the situation going on in China, though, and I don't really, quite frankly. I got accosted. That's not the right term there. I got blasted for saying that a certain situation in China was better than America. I forget what the situation was. Political situation of this, that, or the other. I forgot what the actual specific situation was. But somebody called me out on it. Now I'm like, maybe I should just not comment on China. They're more state capitalist, unshockingly. They call themselves socialist. Oh, okay. I think you're starting to understand more. Word opposite implying that it's of the other one of many genders. Didn't use follow alerts for about a year because you didn't like them. You don't like getting called out, but in the end you enabled them because people people always kept asking why you didn't have them on. That's understandable. It does speak to an interesting idea though of, you know, some people, like, there have been times where I have not followed a streamer and I've come back to it later because I wanted to stop in briefly, drop the follow and leave because I was busy doing other stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm not following this person, I better do that now. But then they're live and I'm just like, oh, if I follow they're going to call me out and I'm going to have to engage, and I don't have the spoons today. Sometimes you wonder how much of your distaste of China comes from US propaganda. There's a possibility there. Thank you, Mix Botwick. Exactly. Also, type exclamation mark Botwick in the chat. Trans liberation now. China has 1 million people in concentration camps. True. China's not good. China's not a good place. There you go. Hello, I am Mix Botwick, Rogue's binary, non-binary personal assistant droid here in the Rogue Room. Please take a seat, enjoy your stay, and I shall be here if you need any assistance. There we go. Botwick's now got a little moniker that tells you about them. Little paragraph. I can't remember the exact wording of the party and country constitutions, but it's along the lines of they are a socialist country working towards communism. Isn't that backwards? Isn't it supposed to be communism works towards socialism? Well, I mean, the idea would be democratic socialism. Democratic socialism, based on what I have read, seems like it's the best for everyone, at least based on what we know. The current plan is to be fully socialist by 2050. Unless you're actually chatting, you always do your follows when the streamer is offline. That's a good idea. Socialism to communism, okay. Well, you know. One of those. I'd need to research more adequately. I don't think I have enough of an understanding of this just yet. Like what Wikipedia says is, social democracy is a political, social, and economic philosophy within socialism that supports political and economic democracy. As a policy regime, it is described by academics as advocating economic and social interventions to promote social justice within the framework of a liberal democratic polity and a capitalist-oriented mixed economy. Protocols and norms used to accomplish this involve a commitment to representative and participatory democracy, measures for income redistribution, regulation of the economy in the general interest, and social welfare provisions. Due to long-standing governance by social democratic parties during the post-war consensus and their influence on socio-economic policy in Northern and Western Europe, social democracy became associated with Keynesianism, and the Nordic model, and the social liberal paradigm and welfare states within political circles of the late 20th century. It has been described as the most common form of Western or modern socialism, as well as the reformist wing of democratic socialism. Distaste of China is from their police state treatment of their minority groups in a genocidal manner, the way they treat their neighbors, and the treatment of the people working in their sweatshops, among other things. Understandable. Understandable. There is a genocide in China. This is true. The Uyghurs in the northwest are being forcibly sterilized, children taken away from parents, also torture and imprisonment. The Americans, America, were also doing forced sterilizations on some group of people in concentration camps. Because America has concentration camps, let's not forget that as well. Perhaps not to the severity of China, of course. But let's make the point very clear right now that forced sterilization is absolutely a form of genocide. You know, when your party is run by SOCDEMs, but you're part of the communist faction. Well, that's no good. What do you do there? Do you join the Communist Party? SOCDEM, capitalism, but make it kind. I think, like, I dislike capitalism. Capitalism is fucking shit. Capitalism is awful. But the part of the issue with discussing political ideology is you run across, like, okay, but there are some good things about XYZ. There are some bad things. Unless it's fascism, that's all bad. That's entirely, like, the worst. Absolutely bad. Demonstrably. There's no reason to be fascist. You're an anarchist, you love socialism and democracy too, and we do a revolution. Let's do a revolution. We've been doing a communism on illegal immigrants. There you go. And for what reason? COVID vaccine headache. Oh no, that's terrible. Well, at least you're vaccinated. That's a positive. At least you're vaccinated. That's a good thing, right? I would hope. Whereabouts were we? Well, we keep coming back. Well, we were jumping between this summary of the Communist Manifesto and the principles of communism. Yeah, capitalism helped us out of scarcity. Now we can totally do with socialism. Yes. That should be the logical next step. Right? Getting out of scarcity was one thing, and then moving into socialist political ideology would be the next best step. But unfortunately, capitalism has run unchecked for too long, and it would be very difficult to change things. So, where should we come back to? The manifesto argues that this development, if we come back to what we were talking about, by the nature of the class, members of the proletariat will have no way of appropriating property. Therefore, when they obtain control, they will destroy all ownership of private property, and classes themselves will disappear. The manifesto argues that this development is inevitable and that capitalism is inherently unstable. The communists intend to promote this revolution and will promote the parties and associations that are moving history towards its natural conclusion. They argue that the elimination of social classes cannot come about through reforms or changes in governments, rather a revolution will be required. What do you reckon? Whether a totalitarian genocidal regime is giving speeches about nationalism or communism is ultimately irrelevant. Both are dystopian nightmares. You're not wrong. We have now created self-reproducing automation. Have we? The minute a political ideology becomes authoritarian, it becomes equivalent to fascism, even if it's not as murdery. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. We don't want to do a fascism. We want to do things that are good for the people, good for everyone. Here we go. Thinking Sabercat. I have a video for you. It'd be nice to hear an opinion on this goof, as he seems to be trapped in a 2016 Peterson mindset. Let's give that a look in a sec. Hello, Nate. I'm doing well. How are you doing? America is absolutely way too complacent about the treatment of our immigrants right now. It's not just Mexicans in camps, but a lot of South Americans trying to flee bad situations to a place that is supposed to be a beacon of liberty and meritocracy, which it's honestly not. Which is kind of the depressing part. America sells itself as this land of opportunity, but it's quite clear it isn't. America has no interest in giving you opportunities. Especially if you're not, like, already an existing American citizen. Well, there's a lot more subtlety to it, but Twitch chat, you know, true. It's like Twitter. We have to treat Twitch chat like Twitter. Most media forms where we reach post-scarcity utopia, we have to go through a lot of bullshit first. True. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. The left's tolerance of authoritarian communists is like the right's tolerance of fascists. I think I understand what you mean. We've created self-reproducing code, so automation is at a stage that it is absolutely threatening to human labor. Good for a communist society, but under capitalism we are obsolete and can starve. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of worrying, quite frankly. Honestly, like me personally, Nate, I'm okay with dude, I think. I'm okay with dude. But there are some other trans people that are not. For various reasons. But I feel dude is pretty gender neutral. If someone else doesn't want to be referred to as dude, that's up to them. The only land of opportunity is Vienna, apparently. Let's all move to Vienna! We're gonna go live in state housing! State-mandated appointment don't actually commit crimes until the revolution, folks, when crime will be necessary. Radio Dell. Have a good one. Have a good appointment. The Communist Manifesto has 4 sections, which I read through all of them, because I'm a good communist. In the first section, it discusses the communist theory of history and the relationship between proletarians and the bourgeoisie. The second section explains the relationship between the communists and the proletarians. The third section addresses the flaws in other, previous socialist literature. The final section discusses the relationship between the communists and other parties. We watched the Tim Curry space scene. Well, hang on, I want to see this first. What's this about? Oh my god. The title alone. Dude. This is going to fuck up my algorithm, isn't it? It's going to recommend me shit like this douchebag. Who, by the way, I have the Shinigami Eyes extension, so his name comes up in red, which means he's not... Obviously, he's not trans-accepting with this bullshit title. Plus inclusive language guide. Do I play many video games? Not often, honestly. But I am considering doing some video game streams soon. Honestly, who was it that mentioned I should do a Yuchi Katana Dark Souls stream? I'm considering that now. I want to go back to Dark Souls. I miss Dark Souls. And the Yuchi is so fucking good. Honestly, it's so good in Dark Souls 3, but then the issue there comes from the fact that Dark Souls 3 honestly is not as satisfying as Dark Souls 1 for whatever reason. He's always been low tier in the anti-SJW YouTube circles. Alright, let's have a look at this. This is a new video. Oh, this is a new video. Okay. Seems trapped in the 2016 Peterson mindset. Let's listen to this dipshit. Let's give him a view. He's got 64,000 of them on this video already. Let's have a listen to what this dipshit has to say, you know? Let's be reactionaries to a reactionary. So challenging. There are different resources sufficient to fix the issue, but it will require such upheaval. Fewer people, less wealth concentration, more efficient / greener energy. It will happen, or almost all will die. Find the extremes of the left and right you're not comfortable with. You prefer the center as you feel safer. The unfortunate reality of the situation, though, I'm pretty far left, but I'm not like an extreme leftist to the point of virtually horseshoeing around back to fascism. The problem with centrism is it inherently favors the right, no matter how far leaning on the fence you are. Centrism favors the right. Fair use notice and disclaimer. Yeah.
Okay, so if you live in Victoria, Australia...
Oh, he's Australian. Great, we got to listen to an Australian dipshit.
And you are a gay, then according to the state government...
And you are a gay. Oh my god, we're off to a great start. Really nice to meet you. You have an amazing day too, Nate. Have a good one. Really tempted to play Dark Souls, but you're not sure you have the patience and frustration tolerance for it. It takes a while to get used to. A gay? Are you one of the gays?
You are officially a victim. You might not think you're a victim, you might not want to be a victim, but I'm sorry, sport, in the eyes of the government, you are a victim. Give me a minute to plug sponsor, then we'll talk about how you're a victim.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Nobody gives a fucking single solitary shit about your sponsors, cunt.
The link in the video description. You've got nothing to lose.
Except my time and patience. Get to the fucking point.
I was recently sent the
What is this gay and how do you acquire one? We are not a gay, we are the gay!
Victorian government's new LGBTIQ inclusive language guide. It's a pretty interesting read, so I thought we'd go through it. Now, first of all, I think we've got to set ourselves a clear baseline. What does the acronym LGBTIQ stand for?
Get ready for it. He's gonna say some dumb bullshit. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, and queer or questioning.
It seems like it's always changing. First it was LGBT, then it was LGBTQ, then it was LGBTQIA+, then it was
LGGBDTTTIQ.
I swear they're making this up. Honestly, I swear they are making this up for the sake of enraging people. And this is why I advocate, let's just call us queer. Just saying we're queer is good enough.
AAPP.
I swear they're making that shit up.
So So for the purpose of this guide, the acronym stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans and gender diverse, intersex, queer and questioning. I mean, sure, Victorian government, that works. As long as you're prepared to erase the existence of gender diverse and questioning people who apparently don't even deserve their own letters. I mean, unless the queers are prepared to share with the questioning people. But I bet you didn't even ask the queers what they thought.
The Q stands for both queer and questioning, and transgender is an umbrella which covers all gender diverse people, including non-binary folks. What is the point he's making here?
Did ya? And you didn't even put a plus on the end. It's like you're not even prepared to acknowledge any other new types of gays that come forward in the future. Inclusive language guide my ass. Recognise that LGBTIQ people have suffered.
Also, does he not, him saying the queers, it absolutely is a slur. This is dog whistling like crazy. Does he not understand that these ideas and this movement towards, you know, tracing inclusive language is a progressive thing? So it's constant. The point of progressivism is that it's constantly shifting forwards more and more, progressing. That's what progressivism is. Get that? Anyway, I think there's something to horseshoe theory, i.e. the people on the far left have authoritarian leanings and then they end up being a lot like the authoritarian far right. But there are people like Thomas Piketty who are radically leftist without being Marxist, Leninist, or Maoist.
And continue to experience discrimination. Well, yeah, I'm sure some of them have suffered and continue to experience discrimination, but you could say that about any group of people. Remember that rollerbladers have suffered and continue to experience discrimination. Remember that white people have suffered and continue...
Oh my god, he's one of those. This guy, white, cisgender, heterosexual male, Garen fucking Teed.
Continue to experience discrimination. Remember that Creed fans have suffered and continue to experience discrimination and deserve to experience a lot more discrimination. My point is...
That was a good point. That was actually funny. Yeah, thank you for gifting a sub to Wango Buffalo. Thank you so kindly. Yeah, Creed fans do deserve to suffer more discrimination. Anyway, moving on.
You're not automatically a victim just because you like to get fucked in the ass by other guys.
Oh my god, dude. Horrible people with animal rant soners make you question openly having a furry/dragon identity and you hate them for it. True. True. Oh, the poor gamers. Oh my goodness. This fucking guy, man. There's a reason, honestly. I'm not trying to, and his name is Bearing, by the way, which is why he's a bear. I'm gonna go out of my way here, quite frankly, to suggest that people who particularly do this kind of format don't like putting themselves on. I mean, there are a number of reasons you might not like putting yourself on camera, but I get the suspicion that this guy's not terribly confident in his appearance. Let's throw that out there.
Don't assume a person is heterosexual. Don't assume that everyone is heterosexual or that this is the norm. Okay.
Well, yeah. Why would you assume a person's sexuality? It's really weird to assume a person's sexuality, dude. Why do you care what another person does in their private time with their sexual partner or partners? What?
Avoid using language such as wife or husband that assumes all relationships are heterosexual, as this excludes non-heterosexual people and devalues their relationships. I thought chicks could have wives and dudes could have husbands. I'm pretty sure...
Yeah, they could, but like almost all the queer people and non-queer people I know in my life use the term partner nowadays. It's not a crazy concept, dude. You might go to bed, Fox? Have a good one. Have a good one. Have a good rest. Is it horseshoe theory to say authoritarianism is bad in every instance? No. Authoritarianism is bad. Resource management will be important. Don't know how to phrase it without sounding alarmist. I mean, fair. Wasn't even 10 years ago that wanted to fight to get B and L with L and G. And even then, they're still bickering about it now. They still don't like the queers, don't like that the B is in the LGBT for some reason. Bering was big buddies with Sargon and Shoe on Head. You were kind of in that camp until you realized that explaining it to a dominatrix girlfriend who told me these people are wrong and purchased YouTube follows. I don't mind Shoe on Head. She's not too bad. Welcome to the Rogue Room Oaktown. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Someone make furry porn of this guy and see how much he will flip his lid over it. Probably a lot.
Sure, we did a whole vote on that. Jeez, get with the times, Victoria.
Supporter of the
Yarrow!
cause.
Thank you for gifting a sub to Leo. My goodness. That's... Oh my god. Thank you so much.
Phrases such as partner, parents, relationship, in a relationship are examples of LGBTIQ inclusive language. Gender, sex, and sexuality are all separate concepts.
What's he gonna say to this? What is he gonna say to this? He's an effing bear, like why would I assume he's straight? Oh god. He's gonna say the most dumb thing possible, yes. Most mainstream discussion uses wording and phrasing that espouses Malthusian thought. Oh, you're talking about about that. G and L, the most similar, kind of just gendered words for the same thing. Pretty much. Pretty much.
Gender is part of how you understand who you are and how you interact with other people. Many people understand their gender as being female or male. Okay, so let's consider that for a second. Gender, sex, and sexuality are all separate concepts. Many people understand their gender as being female or male. Okay, so gender, sex, and sexuality are all separate concepts, and female and male are obviously different types of gender. Okay, cool, let's continue. Some people
Well, I mean, I was expecting him to say some wild, stupid shit, but he just literally recited what the paper said.
Understand their gender as a combination of those or neither. Gender can be expressed in different ways, such as through behaviour or physical appearance. Sex refers to a person's biological sex characteristics. This has historically been understood as either female or male. Okay, so gender...
Don't forget, Ophelia, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us while we listen to this reactionary cunt.
Sex and sexuality are all separate concepts, and two types of sex are genders, as we just stated. But they're all separate concepts. Come on, motherfucker, keep up. This isn't confusing at all.
It's really not, dude. They really go out of their way to say that this is as confusing as possible, and he's literally explaining how it's not confusing. This is in the most layman term you possibly could have it. Like this layout here is not at all confusing. They're just putting it out there so that you can understand it. That's the whole point of this document. And he's saying that's not confusing at all. I mean, quite frankly, a lot of people who are cisgender, their gender is man or woman, not necessarily male or female. But male and female sex characteristics, you know, if we just distill things down to that sex binary, it dismisses anyone who has any sort of divergence in sex characteristics, such as intersex people. This video is about how this guy's a slow learner. I wasn't going to say anything, but he certainly sounds it.
However, we now know that some people are born with natural variations to sex characteristics. Sexuality or sexual orientation describes a person's romantic and/or sexual attraction to others. A person's gender does not necessarily mean they have particular sex characteristics or a particular sexuality or vice versa. LGBTIQ terminology is diverse and constantly evolving. Language used to describe...
Yeah, this guy's a reactionary, right-wing reactionary who's going on about this, as he's put it here, because they love to go on about how complicated queer language is. Plus inclusive language guide. LGBT, like queer plus inclusive language guide. Again, he hasn't made any valid arguments against this. He's just rambling about how confusing it is. Love the playlist in the background of this video. Jordan B. Peterson. YouTubers have to declare ads. Why doesn't anyone else?
Different LGBTIQ people and by different parts of LGBTIQ communities change over time and can differ across cultures and generations. There will also be differences in how people individually use or define particular terms. You may also encounter outdated or even offensive terms in medical, psychological or legal contexts. Practice makes perfect, so keep trying. No one will get the language right 100% of the time for 100% of the people. The important thing is to keep trying. And if you make a mistake, quickly apologise and continue the conversation.
That's called common courtesy. What's he going to say with regards to common courtesy? Using male or female to denote biological sex is also antiquated. That's why we use AMAB, AFAB, and intersex instead. And indeed, Leo, you got gifted a sub by Yarrow. Thank you so kindly again, Yarrow. It's such an effort for these people. Did he have to record himself whacking off in the background? Like, mate, that doesn't like apologizing. No, he's definitely one of those people who's like, I'm not going to apologize for anything. And then he gets called out for saying something radically fascist or something, and he'll go, "Oh, they're cancelling me! They're cancelling me! I refuse to apologize for being an uneducated fucknut."
I think it's coming. Oh God.
Sneezed.
I hate winter so much. Okay, so regarding that last
That was what he was doing.
part, you need to keep practicing the language we dictate is acceptable at any moment in time. And by the way,
Oh my god, the language argument again. They so desperately want to feel like they're living in 1984, these people.
Welcome
You're
to the
policing
room.
my language. Shy Fawn, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, chill out with us. How you doing? How's it going? We're ripping on a stupid persona. It's actually just started. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. He published this in just this past month. And it's summer. Or it was summer. Now we're in autumn.
hey, we're going to change the language we feel is acceptable at any moment in time whenever the we feel like it. If you haven't read our minds and failed...
Again, language is progressive. Language shifts and changes all the time. Words that had a certain meaning 50 years ago have a different meaning now. Language always changes. I've never heard of homosexual specifically being antiquated necessarily, but I mean, we do tend to use the word gay now, generally speaking. Transsexual, though, is very specifically outdated. I know that much. Feel that I'm live, even though different times I say so you pop in and say hi. Appreciate that, Shy Fawn. Even the fucking English language is progressive. More progressive than these conservative dipshits.
To use the words we think you're allowed to use, then you're a homophobe motherfucker. You need to apologize.
They really love to go on with their swearing like that's the funniest thing in the world. Butterfield does this as well. You'll notice this is the peak of intellectual conversation for them. You know, they heard that one study that's like, oh, the more you swear, the more intellectual you are. So they inject a motherfucker into every other segment of the conversation, even though they are the dumbest people on the planet who are absolutely averse to educating themselves on fucking anything. These people don't know shit. Quite frankly, blame Shakespeare. Mofo just making up words. We are all Shakespeare. Fucking dumb.
Right now, then you need to unlearn the shit we said was okay a few days ago and re-educate yourself. The important thing is that you bend the knee to us gays.
This is quite frankly, this is hilarious given that rightoids have a tendency to constantly shift and change their wording and their nomenclature around certain ideas to dog whistle in new ways. Like, they don't have a point here to go on whinging about how the language changes when they're constantly coming up with new and radical ways to refer to fascistic ideas. I'm not saying this guy is specifically a fascist, but... Anyway, dog whistling. Dog whistling. An air raid siren.
And feel bad whenever we say you should feel bad. Because after all, we're victims and you're not a victim.
Yet we are victims compared to cisgender heterosexual white males, literally the most privileged people on the fucking planet. The whole video can just be summed up as I'm a willfully ignorant bigot who feels like the world is leaving me behind and making me feel insecure. Literally can, yes.
You like to have sex with vaginas. Describing LGBTIQ communities, the VPS, I don't know, Victorian Public Service, is moving towards LGBT.
Okay. You made a YouTube video. No, that's a VPN. We don't want that. VPS Australia. No. Yeah. He just guessed it. He got a Victorian Public Sector. It could be Victoria Public Service as well. It's like he literally guessed it when he could have just Googled it. You made the video, but you had to stumble over your words there for the sake of, I don't know.
IQ, which stands for
Of course he's Victorian. I have friends living in Victoria, but I do have to question why there's so many fucking dumb cunts living there.
lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans and gender diverse, intersex, queer and questioning as an inclusive umbrella abbreviation to encompass a range of diverse sexualities, genders and sex characteristics. It has a growing level of recognition and understanding within Victoria. When writing about LGBTIQ people, it is best to use the term communities, as these are many separate and distinct communities within this umbrella term. Oh, that's so gay. People may fit.
That's so gay. This is the epitome of their level of humor. 14-year-old. This is a 14-year-old with 522,000 YouTube subscribers. This is the video if you wanna give him another view, I guess. That's so trans. Only one more sub to meet daily sub goal, folks. Can we smash it? Can we absolutely smash it? So funny watching the last 3 days of CPAC videos and think the people who want it. Oh my goodness, Shy.
Please enjoy
with the
all
Prime.
the delights of the subscriber lounge.
You remember, right? He's in his 30s. He's one of those 30-year-olds who never aged out of being 14 in high school. Oh, you're so gay, man. Welcome to the subscriber lounge, Shy. Sit down, grab some fruit, grab some wine, chill out. Yeah, he couldn't even be bothered to Google it. Low effort troll. What was I going to say? Why there's so many fucking idiots here. It's just despite the fact that we're called the education state. Wanted to help me get the sub goal. Thank you so kindly, Shy. Appreciate that. The people who want to be the most victimized are the rightoids. They absolutely did. They have an absolute victimization complex. They believe that everything that is even remotely close to disagreeing with them is victimizing them as the most privileged people. Bizarre. Expected him to go much worse on VPS, honestly. Let's wrap this up.
More than one of these terms. Heterosexual and cisgender people can be part of LGBTIQ communities. For example, there are straight, trans and intersex people, while LGBTI communities
Cass, how's it
often
going?
work together. For example, to advocate for equal rights, there are different communities with their own distinct experiences, needs and priorities. Alright, listen, that does it. I've been thinking about this for like the last 19 seconds. I can't keep living this
That's about how long they can manage thinking, these kinds of people.
double life. I am an LGBTIQ IQNBFB. Hi, Victorian government.
Oh, here we go. Here comes the funny. Here comes the attempt at the funny. He demonstrated he has nothing original or intelligent to say like 8 minutes ago. See such parallels between white cishet male reactionary politics and narcissist abuse. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we could get into the abuse situation. These people love to gaslight. It is a persecution fetish. These people love to gaslight, to make you sound like you're the crazy one, or daring to be queer.
I currently identify.
Maybe this is perhaps a tad ableist. How slow do you fucking type? What is this, 10 words an hour? I have shit to do, mate. I have shit to do. Speed it up.
As an interqueer, non-binary
Attack helicopter joke incoming.
boy. Just wondering if it would be possible to add IQNBFB to the currently accepted LGBTIQ acronym used to describe
Damn it.
us gays.
Didn't work.
So that would make it LGBTIQNBFB. Kind regards, Bearing Bear.
Fucking type faster indeed. I did blast myself, but this was his attempt at comedy.
Insurance
There's the outro. Fuck him. Fuck your outro. Can't believe we wasted time on that shit. Jesus Christ. I thought I said nothing in my YouTube videos. Honestly, I thought I had nothing to say. And my last video essay was fucking dog shit. I did that on purpose, though. Quite frankly, like, longest 9 minutes of my life, I'm in pain now. Not because of the Nerf blaster. I'm in physical pain. One of his next videos is called How to Pick Up Totally Hot Chicks. I'm not even gonna bother. I'm going to click on this. No, is there a way that I can go to his channel? Just to protect myself here. I'm gonna go to About. Is there a way to block a channel so I never see his videos in my thing again? What's like the opposite of subscribe? I want to find the opposite of subscribe. There is a way to block his channel? Please tell me how to do it. I feel dumber from that video too. Please tell me I can block his fucking channel. I never want to see this wanker again. That was absolutely, literally painful, and it's only alleviated by the fact that we hit our reasonable sub goal. 5 for the day. Thank you, by the way, folks. Remove suggestions on the homepage for a specific creator. Well, he hasn't cropped up yet. That helps, I guess. Can you tell a bad joke? Please fucking do.
Another round.
Hey! Queer liberation now.
Queer
Thank
liberation.
You,
meow.
Meow. Thank you for the 200 bits. Don't be like him. Done the vid for him. Oh my goodness. You're a sleepwalker, so you bought a weighted blanket. You're still sleepwalking. You're small as fuck. Oh, true. Gary Awesome. I've seen Geordie's react to a Gary Awesome video once, and I was like, what the? What is this moron? You tell a cheesy trans joke, you absolutely can. We actually got through 2 videos tonight. We watched 2 videos on stream. Am I going to become a React Andy? Am I going to become a React Andy? Should I become a React Andy? Should I turn that clip into a should I turn that segment into a video? What do you reckon? Should I turn that segment we just had into a YouTube video, or is it not worth it? I feel like it's not really worth it, honestly. I don't know if there's anything we've talked about tonight that would really stand out as video content. React Abby. I could change my name to React Abby. We could be alright. React Andrea, maybe. Want to pick up hot chicks first? You need to get some gasoline and matches. He doesn't need the publicity, no, he doesn't. Fuck him, who cares? Oh, goodness me. Why do they hate queers so much? Why are they so angry? These are the kinds of people that go out of their way to say, oh my god, you're so triggered. You're so triggered that we didn't use your pronouns. You're so triggered we dead named you. It's like, you're literally so pissed off that we just exist. That we dare to ask for a teensy bit of respect. Who's triggered? I'm not triggered. How many trans people do you need to change the light bulb? 1, but they need 3 doctor's notes confirming the light bulb actually wants to change. Oh, fuck. It's true, though. I think that is a Giselle Nick joke. I think I've heard that one before. Fucking hell, man. It is a good one. You're tired? I'm tired too. I'm tired too. I'm trying to think to myself for a second. I'm trying to think for a moment. I was hoping a certain person might be live, but they're not. I'm gonna say we could probably end up raiding now. Probably call it there and go raid someone, but who I wanted to raid is not live. And they're not gonna be live. They're not gonna start streaming now. And I swear, following my follows list is being a fucknut at the moment for some fucking reason. Whenever I scroll up the followed list, it scrolls back down again. Never made it to your raids, it truly is 5 AM. Nice to catch the end of stream. It's been fun, guys. Well, folks. It's been fun, folks. Fascism is based on blaming someone else for problems they cause. It is. Well, we raided Hometown not too long ago. We'll raid her again. Because fucking Bloodborne! Oh, can we get some Bloodborne in the chat? Can we get some fucking... What's it called? Can we get some Ah, good hunter in the chat. I want to replay Bloodborne soon. I want to replay Dark Souls soon. Souls is my life. FromSoft, please give me Elden Ring. There was a rumor that this month we were going to get some information about Elden Ring. And someone with insider information said, no, that's not true. I need Elden Ring information. FromSoft? He's currently doing Hemwick Charnel Lane. Which is where all the crazy witch ladies is at. I'm just doing Threaded Cane, which is the most stylish of weapons. The most stylish of weapons, even though I love the boom hammer, quite frankly. I love the boom hammer. But you have to do the DLC to find that one. Anyway, folks, I have been Rogue Bitch. You have been lovely. Follow all my two YouTube channels, my one Instagram. If you check out my Instagram command, I've changed it just to have the one Insta because I'm not using the skateboarding one anymore. YouTube, Twitter, you know all that good shit. Follow all of those. Here's my little outro scene. Thanks for hanging, folks. I am emotionally exhausted, and I'll see ya when I'm looking at ya.